Welcome to another episode of the IDP Lounge. I am your host, Joey the Tooth IDP, along with my co-host to my left, which is actually my right, but at Nate Cheat, and to my right, at Hollywood Titan. Good evening, fellas. How you doing?
What's going on, Joey?
We have a very special episode tonight. We actually have it's a night out with the nerds. We have three of my favorite people from the Dynasty Nerds team. We have, starting in the bottom left corner, my brother from another mother, Evan Brown, which I found out Evan isn't even his first name after knowing him for long enough, but what the heck. You can find him at Twitter at FFEvanLucian. Right below me, you can find the head of the IDP segment at Dynasty Nerds, Glosser13, John Glosser. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. Thanks for having us on.
And down in the bottom right, we have Jason Snyder at Spide78, one of my favorite writers for IDP these days. Jason, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So, how's everybody's evening going so far? I know, Evan, it's what, 1 o'clock right now?
Yeah, it's morning. Good morning.
You're in the future.
Hence the coffee.
No. Sunday, it's a beautiful day. You guys will enjoy it.
Oh, just think, it's only 1 week away from actual Sunday football for you.
That's right.
Oh, man. I'm so excited.
We need it. We need it. Off season's been a little rough this year. Little craziness going on all over the place. So,
do you not think though,
nice
like
football?
As much as I'm super excited about the season being here, like, do you not find as like a content creator and stuff like that, you're almost like, crap, I'm not ready. Wait, I've got more to do. Like, I'm literally like half freaking out that it's here and half like super excited that it's here.
Yep.
It's like,
we were having that exact conversation before we went live, Evan.
So it's like the stuff that I've been doing for like regular content, that's kind of like, I got that going, but there's more projects now that we have going on in this. So now it's kind of like, all right, so now I want this going on and I got this going on. So I got to make sure I got this going and I want to make sure this is coming out right. And it's like, so the normal content, I'm like, I got that dialed in, but it's the new projects that's coming on now that I'm like, all right, sure.
Just imagine how I feel. I've got pockets of projects that I'm working on, making sure the teams are all set and, making sure that they've got everything they need. That's going to be my life this season, is just meetings and management. Yes.
And we're going to have some meetings soon with you. We're going to need it.
Yeah.
We have a new project that we've actually been talking about recently, a couple of us, and just want to see the actual direction where you want to go, but I love how it's forming and where it's heading, so it's going to be very good. Hollywood, I think you're a part of that too, you big nut bar.
Oh yeah, it's could be something big coming here.
Yeah. So before we dive into anything related, I just want to ask: is there any Miami Hurricanes fans here tonight? Because I think I saw.
I feel like that's a shot fired at somebody.
I think I saw, he said before we come on this weekend, he's like, it'll be great because I'll be able to watch Alabama destroy Miami and it's just going to crush my soul.
Like, I never expected them to even really be competitive, but yeah, I mean, it was just, I think the most aggravating thing was just seeing Bubba Bolden get thrown out so early because he's clearly the best player on that defense this year. So
it's definitely, that's somebody you want to watch and then not be able to actually watch him and just only watch them get their faces stomped in. It's like, well, this is just not worth it anymore.
Yeah, we did not close the gap at any point. So
no, I actually my one of my first glances I looked over, it was already 27-0. I was like, oh, that's not good. That's not good at all.
Starting off your season against the Crimson Tide is a rough way to go.
There's a lot of people on Twitter saying, like, well, if you're non-conference, why would you ever schedule Alabama? And I'm like, you guys clearly don't get the whole money aspect of college football.
Right. Plus, on the off chance, what if you do beat Alabama?
Yeah,
and you automatically thought of, it's like, all right, now you're a contender for a championship. Like,
even if you
beat Alabama.
Close. Yeah.
It's like,
for sure.
But let's start and let's go along the bottom panel here and let's talk about what you guys actually have going on for this season. I'm going to start with the bottom right, Jason. Why don't you tell me what you got going on for in-season content?
Too much is the answer. No, I've got my usual IDP content. I've been putting out some articles over the off season in the summertime here. We'll have hopefully more of that going in the season. I'm also going to be doing a weekly start sit column on the quarterbacks. So I'll be getting some offensive exposure, which will be nice for me. And then other than that, just trying to manage the overcommitment in various leagues that I've accrued with idle time over the summer. That'll be interesting as well. I try to practice what I preach, but it's going to be
overcommitment. I mean, I was just talking about last week how I'm in too many leagues, and Nate slides into my DMs. He's like, "Hey, I got one more league with some of the guys from the website. You want to join?" And I'm sitting here, I'm like, "No, I don't. We just talked about this." And you know what I did? I go and I joined the league.
Yep.
Way to catch the peer pressure, Joey.
Oh, I see how it is. So you join the league when he asks you to.
Oh
no, because I already joined that league. Listen, you know for a fact, going into 2 of those auction leagues would have been hell.
No, it would have been great.
Well, it would have been. I should just left the one I was in and joined your guys. But actually,
exactly,
ours went mint because we actually split it up between 3 days.
Oh no, Jason wouldn't let us do that. He was like the commandant. He was like, "No, we're doing this today." And I was like, "Man, it's like 3 a.m. here." And I just set a freaking queue at the end. I was like, "I don't know. I hope I get some players. I'm just going to bed. I'm too tired, guys."
I didn't realize that's what you were talking about. That one had been rescheduled like 3 times, and I was like, "I'm not turning back now." Like,
yeah, we got
like an afternoon without having any kid commitments was like, we got to go full bore. Like, I can't turn back now.
I totally get that. We got like through like 60% of the way through, and then it was just like I'm like half falling asleep, and the other guy's like, "All right, I have to go to work in like 4 hours." So I was like, "Cool, pause." And they're like, "Yeah, let's do that. We can reschedule." I was like, "Thank freaking God, Jesus."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I got a question for this. Now, is this like the RSO leagues where it's like a single player is up on X? So now, have you guys played where it's just like an open auction where there's like, up to like 100 players at one time, 16 hours to win?
Yep.
Which do you prefer? Because I have some feelings about this, but I'm curious because I've never really gone through it. How you guys think on the other side of it? Do you prefer a single player up there or the full list of everyone and just kind of long form draft?
I personally like the single player because the auctions go much slower. So mainly it's the irritation factor for me. So you got those big auctions where you have like 30 players up at a time. So you have a guy you've had on there for 7 hours and you're the head bid and you're leading into like the final 10 minutes and all of a sudden somebody bids. You're like, and then you bid again within 10 minutes, and then they wait 7 hours, and then they bid again. And it's like, you son of a bitch. But with these, it's like you have 10 seconds. So if you want this guy, you better be paying attention. So you just bid, and you set a bid, and then you're dedicated to winning that one guy instead of like 6 over a 7 hour span just for pure irritation when somebody just snipes you within like 2 minutes.
Yeah. Do you think that? Because like me personally, I really like those 30 to as many players as possible. If I could have every single player up there all at once, I would absolutely love that because I feel you get a better look at the value. Whereas if it's a single player up at one time, I think that the values are a little skewed because when you have all of those players, you kind of shift your strategy based off of who you're winning and what's going on. And so you get more of a look at what the market is. Whereas if it's a single player, it's like, okay, so everyone wants Patrick Mahomes. Like, of course he's going to be like $1,000 or whatever the leading bid would be. Whereas, he'd still have a really high bid in a, long format, but it would be more scaled and probably more even across the players.
So,
I totally agree.
I like this way mainly because it makes me feel more of like a GM going through free agency, right? So you have to outbid your guys, and once you get a contract signed, you have to manage your budget that way. And so you put in the money on this guy. So then
debatable.
You're like, True. So you put your money in here, so then you put all your money in this one spot, or a lot of your money here. So then you base your strategy from there. It's like it's like being a GM instead of just having like a bunch of people right here. It's like, oh, I did win this one, so I need to adjust this one. It's like, all right, so I know I got this here, and then I know I got this here, and then I know I got this here, and my strategy builds from there.
It's interesting. I almost got into it with the big three guys, and then I just kind of backed out last minute because I didn't really like the format. But it's something I'd probably look at, in the future.
It's worth a nice shot to give it just a try out one night.
I hate auction any way you cut it, but RSO is I feel like the way to play based on the NFL salary cap. So I do really like that concept, but the fact that it's 8 hours, it's a commitment for 8 hours, no matter how many times you cut it up. I feel what Nate's saying for sure, because like there's a little bit more of a team building process in it when you're looking at everybody. I mean, we kind of saw it in ours. I think Jason was in ours. Is you've seen Mahomes go for millions and millions, and then like a guy like Matt Ryan will come up and it's like 10 million for 2 years, and you're just like, well, why didn't I just wait on quarterback? So like I see both sides of it, and then like Evan's trying to get to bed, so he's just like been crazy so he could fill his roster. Like, and then
50 million under grilled peppers.
And then at the end of it, you're like, oh, I'm getting like these elite defensive players or offensive players for pennies on the dollar compared to where they were going in the top 10 or 12 guys nominated.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, we had quite a few towards the end too, where it's like people blew all their money, and then all of a sudden it's like now you can just get a bunch of great IDP players for like 2 years at like $500K a year just because nobody else has money.
Yeah.
Now, let's be honest. It doesn't matter if it's 7 hours or if it's 10 seconds and you get sniped in that last second or last hour. You're pissed anyway.
You know what though? That's 7 hours. So if you watch it, you're like, yeah, I got this. Then nobody's gonna bet. You get that over that like 5 hour hump, and you're like, yeah, I'm good. And then like when you're down to like 20 minutes and somebody's just like outbids you by like $1, you're like, they prices right your ass. Totally prices right your ass.
That's the fun part of the the salary bidding, especially because that guy that just outbid you just got sniped on his guy, and that opened up some cash so that he could jump in and take that one from you.
Or that guy that just outbid you by $1 is just being a dick, and he doesn't even want him. He just put on $1 to say,
price tag.
That's Hollywood. That's Hollywood. That is Hollywood.
No, I do snipe in some auctions, but it's because if it's during the day, I'm by myself, so I've got no help. So I'm on a time crunch. So in an auction, when I do get a second, if I jump on there and there's 5 minutes left and it's somebody I want, sorry, I'm bidding.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's where it's about the market value. You're trying to get up to the point that you're the highest bid, but there's people are seeing other options that are better on the board, and I enjoy that format because it changes up your strategy. When you win a guy, like say you put all your money in on Devin White and you get him at like a ridiculous contract. That maybe you back off on linebackers or look at different, you adjust your strategy up. But when you get sniped in the last minute and, someone else takes him and puts him out of your range, then you go and you move on to like a Roquan Smith, which is smarter and a better, overall IDP strategy. But, I really am sad that this year 2 of my salary cap leagues folded up. So I'm looking next year to get in or start a full-on regular salary cap, the whole shebang, all the contracts and everything. Probably once this season's up.
I need to dump
really
some
format.
leagues. Yeah, if you're gonna do that, Nate, I need to dump some leagues pretty quickly.
Oh, you're in?
Yeah, I probably will be, but I need to get rid of some before I say yes.
We
in
gotta
so
get rid
many.
of the COVID leagues. I'm sorry, Sean. You're probably listening, but we got to get rid of those damn.
No, I actually like those because I
many
had
of
like 3 championships in those leagues last year.
Yeah, because everyone else stopped paying attention.
I was freaking sitting there. I had a kid that was sleeping in front of me in a little bonnet, and I was just like, or bassinet. She's sleeping in the bassinet. I'm drafting like league after league after league. Kid wakes up for like 2 hours, goes back to sleep. I'm like, let's do this again. Let's go.
Nice.
Oh.
So we got a comment here from Michael Hicks. Thanks for the Urlacher jersey. This guy was
nice.
awesome. Met him at the expo,
What's up, Michael?
and he came into we did an IDP breakout session with Fantasy Nerds and Gary Davenport, and we did a drawing. I put up a Brian Urlacher jersey, and hey, Michael Hicks got it. So thanks for watching the show, man.
Awesome.
Heck yeah. Well, while we were going along, Jason, you told us what you had going on. John, why don't you tell us what's going on with the Nerds for IDP this season?
More of the same. I'll be taking on the Start Sit IDP article this year. We're doing office hours on Sleeper and on Facebook, I believe. I know Eric was a big part of that in years past, but I know we have some more writers and content creators at Nerds that are stepping up to take on the Facebook role of that. So that'll be cool to kind of get our presence out there for IDP, for people asking those questions, last minute. And rankings, all the same stuff, trying to just keep up with it, like Jason said, with the overcommitment of leagues, and trying to make sure you're still trying to be a good dad while you're creating all this content. I know some of you guys can empathize with me on that one.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So just trying to create as much content as we can and be a voice out there in the community. And it's cool to come on with you guys here and create those connections that we have on Twitter, and being able to pod together whenever we can to kind of cross promote is definitely cool, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's always a good time having you guys on. Like you three are three of my favorite guys to interact with in Twitter. Like overall, in general, it's all three really nice guys, generally fun to talk to. So I mean, literally, I talk to Evan, God, like probably like every other hour throughout the day.
That's maybe like a slight exaggeration, but
oh come on, it's close.
And you still invited him?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
well, I threatened him,
He did. He's like, well, you suck. I don't like you. I'm going to kill you. Can I come on? I said, sure.
Right.
No, but all right. So, Evan, now you have something
You're
new
like,
coming
"But
up
it'll
that
be
we
at
actually
1 o'clock
talked
in the
about
morning." And
recently.
he was like, "Slow."
He's like, I'll come on at 1 o'clock. I'm going to kill you, though. And I said, well, you know what? Just come on anyway. That's fine.
yeah,
No, you have something new coming up. We were just talking about. Why don't you tell us about
yeah, I'm gonna be, well, I figure, really what the space needs is some more podcasts. Really, let's be honest. It's, there's a big hole in the market. So yeah, I'm gonna be starting a podcast. So I'm excited. Yeah, it'll be good. I think you're coming on next week as my first guest. So it's not IDP themed. I'm not like an IDP pro like you guys. I just am a hatchet man who I focus on the offense, and then I'm like the bridge between like the IDP and the offensive, because it feels like a lot of people that play offense, like they just don't like IDP or they freak out about it and they don't like it. Whereas I got an IDP like a year or two ago and I really enjoy it. So it's been really cool getting to know people like yourselves and try and like sway more of my offensive minded brethren into trying out IDP. So yeah, I'm gonna have a podcast started next week at Dynasty Debates, and just gonna have a different guest on every week, and we're just gonna talk through, have a different topic or player or something like that we're going to discuss on different sides and try and learn something from somebody every week. And yeah, other than that, I do Superflex tight end premium rankings over at Dynasty Nerds, and I write articles and stuff for them as well, and then just do some guest pods and stuff like that as well. So yeah, it's all good. Lots going on.
Nice. Hollywood, what do you got going on this year for us? I know you got your normal stock report, your rookie stock report. I mean, you have reports like crazy. You pretty much write like 17 articles a week, it seems like. But what do you have actually going on for
take a little
weekly
break last
content?
month. I was just like, ugh. Yeah, I'm going to have the stock market report for the NFL. Then I'm going to have one for Devy for those that play IDP Devy. I'll have one of those. Then there'll be a rookie recap, and then whatever else Nate can swindle me into. I'm sure he's got ideas rolling in his head. So between the podcasting.
Well,
I've got
we're
like
gonna have
3 or
the
4 podcasts. And
we got the live stream on Sunday mornings that will be kicking off. We just started talking about that. Start Sit Show, bringing that back 3rd or 4th year running. I can't remember.
I think it's 4th because I think the first year you did it was the first year I was doing this.
Could be.
Which was so yeah, that's been 4 years.
Does that mean we're like old men in Twitter land, like in Twitter years?
I don't know. I see people that have been on here for like 10 plus years. I'm like, holy shit, how did you make it through?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, look at Gary Davenport, who's been doing this for 15, and it's just like, man, how did you not just give up?
How did you not find somebody and slap them?
Yeah.
It was much more peaceful back then.
Oh, I know. How long have you been on, John?
I think 2011, maybe
Really?
2010, 2011.
So you're right on that 10-year mark.
Yeah, I look
crazy
back
bastard.
I got an anniversary of some of my old tweets, and I'm like, oof.
You're like, oh, that wasn't a good take.
We're like, Frank Gore's career is over.
Yeah, right.
Oops.
I would never say that about a fellow Hurricane.
That's true. Yeah.
I love Frank Gore. One of the best players ever. No, he really was. He's been just a fantastic player, Frank Gore. He's one of my all-time favorites.
I just dropped him in one of my leagues, and I was like kind of hesitant to do it.
Yeah, you were heartbroken because he could still have some value if he signs with somebody. He actually just signed with the Ravens. So.
I felt really old. I was acquiring shares of Frank Gore Jr. and Debbie this year.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my dream, is that he would hang on long enough to play with his son. That would be like amazing. Like a Ken Griffey Jr. situation, but like in the NFL.
That's absolutely insane to do that in the NFL, especially as a running back.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Frank Gore very rarely gets injured. And even if he's injured, he usually just plays through it. The dude's a tank.
Yeah. Well, that's the irony, is when he came out, his knee was all like scrapped up. They didn't even know if he was going to be able to play. And then he was one of the most dependable
he's the freaking Iron Man running back of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frank Gore. Sorry, I just had to take a minute. It's going to make me tear up. I hope he re-signs with the Niners just so he can retire a 49er. Just sign. Do it.
So Joey, we've got a game this week. It's 49ers and the Lions.
Yes.
So are we going to see Trey Lance? Like, is Jimmy G going to just, be pretty on the bench, or
no?
What's the deal?
They'll probably start Jimmy G, at least against the Lions. They don't. No offense, but I mean, honestly, say you put out your rookie quarterback who you just traded up to the 3rd overall pick, he goes in and he has a tough time against the Lions. It's like that's a really hard way to start your career. So the fact that they have Jimmy G there and they can probably manage themselves to a win, they'll probably end up doing that just so Trey Lance doesn't start off his career with a potential dark mark on his career. You come in, you're the 3rd overall pick, and then you play the Lions, who are projected 0-17, and then.
Well, hey! Just for that, like, you know what jersey I'm wearing right now, right?
Which one is it? Who's number 3? Was that Joey Harrington?
Oh no!
It is Joey Harrington.
That's how I feel about the Lions this year. So completely fine. I get it.
So I want to know how you all feel if it ends up in a tie.
If it ends up in a tie,
that's not going to happen.
That's a win for Detroit, I would say.
That's a huge
Just for
win
shits
for Detroit.
and giggles, I want to know.
Well, see,
I might actually cry.
I think it could be a trap game. I think the 49ers have had some difficulties in the past that could rear its head, and they might, I don't know.
Listen, the 49ers are going to run that ball straight down the throat of the Lions.
So who do you like better, Mostert or Sermon?
If Mostert's healthy, I love him in the system. I mean, he thrives. He's averaged over 5 yards per carry. He's good in the receiving game. He's a freaking fast as hell. And he shows every time he touches the ball. He's the possibility of a breakout. I mean, Sermon, I would want to see him in a regular season game because he's built for the system, and he ran outside zone in college, right. And it's the reason why Kyle Shanahan traded up for him. He's like, this is my scheme guy. This is my guy. I love what I have in Sermon. So I think long term it's Sermon, but I mean until Mostert gets healthy or he shows any bit of a decline, I think you have to give it to Mostert to start the game.
Yeah, I just noticed today that I think it was Yahoo or one of them have Sermon projected at 1,200 yards for the season.
Wow.
So I'd imagine, that was pretty high to me.
That doesn't seem
So I was
It's
thinking,
not going to happen.
somewhere. Do you think there's a timeshare that's going to happen?
Oh yeah, I could see both of them close to the 1,000-yard mark. I mean, Mike Shanahan did that in Denver with Mike Anderson and Tatum Bell or something like that.
Mhm.
It wasn't anything spectacular, but Shanahan runs a similar scheme. So Kyle Shanahan. So I could see Sermon and Mostert, if they both remain healthy, get close to that 1,000-yard mark each, especially with the extra game. But they're going to run another running back. They're going to have the 3-back system. There's going to be somebody else that's going to go in there and take carries too. I mean, they've done it for years now. I mean, so
I was just going to ask you, Joey, do you think there's a role for Jeff Wilson?
I
in
do.
that backfield?
But you know what, though? Jeff Wilson needs to make sure he can beat out Jermichael Hasty, because Hasty was great in
that's true
preseason,
too.
and they were able to enough to where they just said see you later to Wayne Gallman. So
Right.
Oh,
so
I know Jeff Wilson's like essentially free in so many leagues.
Yeah,
I've been
I know.
stashing him in the AR because it's like, why not? I mean, he's not taking
Well,
a
yeah.
roster spot.
and Mostert's almost always injured at some point in the season,
Right.
so it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone will ever be the guy for like a system like that. You know what I mean? It's just next man up. You know what I mean? It's always been that way. You know, talk about dating ourselves, like Orlandis Gary, Mike Anderson, like those kind of guys, like they just step in and it's 8, 9, 1,000 yards before you know it. So I mean,
Right.
yeah, I never got the hype on like Sermon, like in rookie drafts where we were trying to like hype him up and make him. I know he's like the new shiny toy in the offense, but I think at the end of the day, I mean, nobody thinks running back is more replaceable than a guy like Mike Shanahan. So and Kyle Shanahan.
Right.
The only reason that I got slightly excited about it is because Kyle Shanahan actually traded up for him. Like Shanahan's been known to be that guy who's going to wait in the draft and draft a running back in the 4th, 5th round, and just he's going to succeed. But the fact that he traded back up to grab him in the 3rd, that's really high draft capital for Kyle Shanahan.
Yep.
So that's the only reason that made me think that he may have big plans for him. But I mean, you're not just going to say see you later, Mostert, after the way he's performed when he's healthy. So.
Mm-hmm.
What
It
do
kind
you-
of
what-
remind you of the Patriots in a way.
Right.
Yeah, like you'd want to have their backs in like a best ball for sure, but trying to figure out who's going to be the guy this week, you pull your hair out. Like,
I know.
really
It's
difficult
like-
to pick.
I mean, even this season with the Patriots, like, yeah, sure, Damian Harris, he's received most of the carries, but Stevenson was
Right.
phenomenal in preseason.
Yeah.
Like, he looked phenomenal. So it's like, all right, do they do a 1-2 where they've been giving Damian Harris all the first team carries? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Can
And now
you do
with
that?
Cam getting cut, I think James White's going to have a role too.
Right. So there you go, 3-back system again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What about the Lions, Nate? What do you think that offense is going to put out week 1?
I don't
And
think
is
it's going to be
Swift
putting out.
healthy?
It's going to be 3 and out.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of that. You're talking about Swift. I think everything I've heard is it's all systems go for him. I'm sure they're being cautious, getting ready for the season. But I mean, who else is on that team other than you got Swift and then Hawkinson? Those are the 2 guys. Like,
Have you
that
guys
whole
signed a
offense
kicker
is
yet?
running through them.
Oh, that's right. You dumped both your kickers.
Yeah, they did sign
we?
somebody. I forget
They don't
who it
need a
was.
kicker. They're not going to get that close.
Right.
But I don't.
All
do
I
they
know
even
is
have?
that Matt Prater's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
That
was
was
a
years
got
hard
rid of
ago.
both their kickers. Maybe he's just going to go a whole season without kicking.
So
He's
what
like, we
about
go
Jamal
for it on
Williams?
every
Anybody
fourth
liking
down.
Jamal Williams?
That's how you take out kneecaps.
Yeah, the 4th down. That's when the kneecaps are the weakest.
I don't mind Jamal Williams, just not at his price.
Right.
I don't like everyone like hyping him up. I want whatever's like cheapest in a bad offense,
Right.
and he's unfortunately not the cheapest. So
It looks like Austin Siebert.
Well, I had a lot of him
off the
before
waivers.
he got
Austin
he went to
Siebert.
moved on to Detroit. So
Yeah.
So Do you think Tyro Williams has a year? I just traded for him in a league.
You scumbag.
And it was a pretty good trade, though. I guess.
Hopefully he
Who
was
is?
a throw-in. I hope you weren't trading for him specifically.
Oh, no, I
He
did.
literally
Hold on.
traded away Justin Jefferson to get Tyro Williams.
I did. But I also got 2 early first and an early second.
Okay.
Well, he hopes
Tyro.
they're early.
Well, they,
Yeah, so
they should be. Have you
just
seen those
dumped
teams?
a huge asset for a guy that's probably going to be flirting off your bench.
Well, no, that was the
I
whole
would
point. It's a 16-team league, and he's going to be either starting as like my last wide receiver or coming off the bench in waivers. So it was pretty much the two first.
Don't
and
let
the
him
second.
fool you. It's his best wide receiver he's got.
So
Listen,
what I would say
don't be jealous. I
is-
didn't trade him to you.
Is
I'm
Amon
super
Ra
angry.
or Quintus Cephas on the waiver wire in that league? Because those are the two guys that if you want cheap and you want chance for good, those are the two guys that I would want.
Oh, there's nobody
Yeah.
on waivers in this league.
I like
It's
Cephas. I like Cephas a lot.
he kind of fits in Jared Goff's scheme too, right? Those kind of like more intermediate routes, a little bit of separation.
Yeah, and he's
Strong
pretty tough.
hands.
Yeah, exactly. There was a really nice. I actually posted on Twitter one of the preseason games. There, he had a really nice touchdown. It wasn't Goff throwing them the ball, but he was like it was a contested catch, and he just brought it down, powered his way into the end zone. It looked really good. And then they obviously cut Brashad Perriman, so they must have liked what they were seeing from Cephas and Amon-Ra and stuff like that enough to let Perriman go. So I definitely think Cephas could be a little cheeky sleeper even in redraft this year.
Yeah, that was actually a surprise. A lot of people online's Twitter, they didn't like Perriman, but they were definitely surprised when he wasn't there anymore. But I think that just goes to show like the possible development of Amon-Ra. I think specifically, Quintus Cephas is probably still going to. He's there, but I think they like Amon-Ra more because he's had some pretty spectacular catches as well in camp.
I can't believe how far he fell in the NFL draft. That was
Seriously,
that was a shocker to me.
what he ended up in the 4th?
Yeah, I think 4th was it 4th? Yeah, I think so.
That's crazy, man. I had him as like a second rounder.
I wonder how much not having a combine affected, the skill position players, because it seemed like a lot of them fell.
Yeah, I think exactly. I think for the offense especially, I mean, I would say that not having a combine, plus there was a lot of weird stuff with the medicals and stuff right up to the right up to the draft. And I even was listening to a lot of like Daniel Jeremiah, different guys that are real draft heads, and they were saying that when they talk to different GMs, there's just a different like risk appetite, around the NFL. Depending on the GM, there's certain ones that are like, no, he's just off my board now. You know what I mean? Because not because they didn't like the talent, but because they just weren't sure on the medicals or they weren't sure on whatever, or they wanted to see the workout metrics and they couldn't. So therefore they were just like, we're done. We're not trying. And I think that's part of the reason why someone like Terrace Marshall fell, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, and Terrence Marshall, that's another guy who looks like he's stepping up into a nice role. I mean, he's could be the wide receiver 3, which could eventually move up. I don't know. That whole wide receiver group's kind of sneaky to me. Robbie Anderson, I just can't like say Robbie Anderson is a wide receiver 1 in a team. And DJ Moore kind of like he's back and forth. He had a kind of weird year last year himself. And then there's Terrace Marshall. So it's like you have 2 receivers who have had great years and bad years. And then you have Terrace Marshall, who's a rookie who looks great. So it's like, is it too many mouths to feed and without a true like number 1 on the team?
Mm-hmm.
And with Sam Darnold as your cornerback?
Yeah, and I like
What do you
Dan
guys
Arnold on that team too as a tight end. I mean, I think he's going to get. I mean, he's not going to be a tight end 1 or 2 or anything like that, but he's got upside, and he's another receiving threat on that team. So it really comes down to Darnold. I mean, I think they have skill position players. It's just can he distribute it? Can he move the team?
Yeah, Dan Arnold's probably the best receiving tight end they've had since Greg Olson.
Yeah.
Ian Thomas was a flop.
Yeah.
I had a lot of high hopes for him, and then all of a sudden it's just
I
like,
had so many shares of him that just went under big time.
yep, a lot of startups during those COVID leagues. The
Yeah.
startups was like, I'm waiting on tight end. I'm going to grab Ian Thomas. And I was like, all right, I need a tight end bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
I
I
think
think I have him on some
looking-
taxi squads that I never even broke the seal. It's like right from the taxi squad to the waivers. Like goodbye.
It's unfortunate. It's heartbreaking. What were you gonna say, Evan?
No, I was just saying that looking at the Panthers, like watching them in the preseason and stuff, I think one of my biggest things with them is the offensive line is just such a concern. It's so bad. Even just watching Darnold, he didn't play obviously full games or anything, but the little bit that he did play, because they were trying to get him a few snaps, get him used to the offense and stuff, and it just, when he was able to get some time, he actually looked pretty good. And there was a couple really nice plays, but in general, that offensive line really terrifies me.
So it's like, is it a possible another New York Jets situation for Sam Darnold where he can't even get his feet off the ground because he's stuck with a crap offensive line?
Well, I think the coaching is obviously miles better there. And
wait, you're telling me you don't like Adam Gase?
I think the offensive skill positions that he's got, to work with, I don't think it'll be a train wreck. I think that they're smart enough to scheme around what they've got, but I could see a lot of, dump offs to CMC, a lot of short game to Robbie Anderson, things like that. So I think if they had a better offensive line, I think there'd be a better chance of all three of the wide receivers really flourishing.
All right. Yeah, I think CMC probably caps most of those guys' upside. I mean, what was he? He was a 1,000 guy just 2 years ago. I mean, when your running backs has 1,000 receiving yards, that's definitely going to cap somebody's upside in that game.
Yeah.
Oh, Kyle's here.
Throwing shade at Hollywood already.
Has he fired Hollywood? Are you going to fire him?
Is Kyle going to fire him, or am I going to fire him?
Hollywood, you muted yourself.
Hollywood's on mute.
It's a mute firing.
I
said I don't even know a guy.
If you want to do like the mime thing, you can say.
If we're going to hand gestures,
yeah, it could just be
the
this.
boss man's here. I can let the boss man fire him.
I don't think Nate wants to, though.
Saying fire you, Hollywood.
No, don't fire
Sure,
either.
go ahead,
I don't want to have to pick up any more stuff to do around the office. Kyle, if he fires Hollywood, then what are you going to do with IDP Nation? Hollywood, likewise. Screw you both. You're stuck with each other, you old married couple.
That's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. So if you guys are excited,
fires me, I'm pretty sure I'm just running solo. I don't know what Kyle's doing, but I'm running solo.
You're not running anywhere. I can't picture you running.
Yeah, I am. To the refrigerator, to the...
That's a brisk jog.
Package store.
It's all right. Everybody, if you have it can be IDP, it can be offense. If you have one player who you're higher on than anybody else, Hollywood, since you're my lovely co-host, other than Nate, because you're just lovely. Who's your guy? Who are you higher on than anybody else, you think? And I'm probably going to have to go back to Hollywood because he's going to think about it for a while.
Yeah, probably.
Nate, I'm going to come to you. Oh, he's going.
Go ahead. Okay,
I'll go before he takes mine. I'm going with Zaven Collins. One, because I think that he's, a great rookie, coming out of this draft, but also the landing spot right there. You look back at the last couple guys that have been the middle linebacker in a Arizona defense, and they've been pretty well just by default, scoring and everything because of where they're at. And I think Zaven Collins goes in there, and he's, better than Jordan Hicks, better than who was the guy a couple years ago?
Devondre Campbell. They had him for a while.
Campbell was outside, right?
I hope you're not throwing shade at Isaiah Simmons.
Nope, not Simmons.
No, he's like, nah.
No, this was like this might have been 3 or 4 years ago. Shoot, he did it for a couple years. I think he went to the Cincinnati. Either way, he was just not like a very good player, and he went there from the Lions and did great. Was in the top 5 for linebackers.
Oh, Josh Bynes.
Yeah, Bynes. Thank you.
Yes.
So that position right there, I think I key in every year to try and get that guy. Bynes for a couple years, and then Hicks last year, and then now with Zaven Collins Zaven Collins there, I'm very interested. So I've been trying to get him everywhere, and he's moved up because I believe earlier in the season I had like Jamin Davis, JOK, like in those a little bit above him, and then now really he was my number one rookie for the year until I started really looking and seeing what Micah Parsons was doing, because I wasn't completely sold on Parsons, and then I think now I am.
I think both Parsons and Collins will have similar style roles this year. They can both rush the passer, and they're both going to be middle linebackers. So I like both of their upsides this year. But Hollywood, let's come back to you, Hollywood. Who's your guy?
For me, I think it's Gregory Rousseau. I know a lot of people were down on him because he sat out last year due to COVID. A lot of people were thinking
I was down on him for a while.
Kwity Paye is the guy, and I like Kwity Paye, but I think Rousseau up there in Buffalo with Sean McDermott, they're trying to duplicate what Washington's doing with that front four. They got Boogie Basham, Ed Oliver, AJ Epineza, and now they've got Rousseau. And I think we've seen early in the preseason, Rousseau's the guy. So I'm hoping that translates over to the regular season, and I think it will. I think he's going to be their speed pass rusher that they've been missing. I know a lot of people I've talked to, they've had him drop down a little bit, with Jalen Phillips and Kwity Paye and some other guys ahead of him. But I think Rousseau's the best pass rusher of the class.
Yeah, I like that. I watched him. He made Penny Sewell look like a fool in preseason. He beat him so easily. I didn't even realize that. Thank you. But Gregory Rousseau. I still think there's Paye and Phillips. I still think they're more talented, but I think the landing spot for Rousseau was phenomenal. Like Phillips, I don't know. There's something about the Dolphins defense where I hate using anybody on there for IDP unless it's a cornerback, unless it's really Xavier Howard. He's the only one that I really have faith in, and it was mainly because he had 10 interceptions. So I don't know. Stop it. I love
Andrew Van Ginkel slander will not be tolerated.
Van Ginkel. Get your Ginkel out of here. Get your Ginkel out of here. No, Jerome Baker even played well last year, but I have a tough time putting faith into Jerome Baker just because he was benched partway through the year last year. He got his role reduced until he came back in, and then they gave him the full-time role again. So it's like, I don't really trust that defense. So Jalen Phillips is out for me. Rousseau in Buffalo is great. So him and Basham, and their edge rushers are old, Jerry Hughes and Trent Murphy. So it's like he's going to have a role no matter what. And I like Kwity Paye in Indy, but I still think Paye has some refining to his own pass rush that he needs to work on. He's got to be a little more versatile instead of he can't just bull rush everybody in the NFL.
So tell me this, is it Kwity Paye or Kwity Paye?
Kwity Paye.
It's Kwity Paye. If you just say it fast, nobody can even tell how you say it. So,
yeah,
Kwity Paye.
Quick note on Rousseau, you got to remember that McDermott. Go back to his days in Carolina. What did he have down there with Julius Peppers, Mario Addison, that big front four? He's doing the same thing in Buffalo, which is what Washington's already doing with their front four. That's the key to winning in the NFL. If you can win in the trenches, you're going to win, either offensive line or defensive line. So if you can get to the quarterback with that front four or front three, whatever you're doing, your other 7, 8 on the back end, they're going to have it easy.
It was like San Francisco in 2019.
You can win that way. Exactly.
Yep. Jason, who's your guy?
Well, the guy that I'm going to mention is probably going to be no surprise to anybody that's familiar with my Twitter or anything like that, but I'm going to say Carson Wentz in Indianapolis. I think he's been left for dead, essentially, by the fantasy community. He's 3 seasons removed from a potential MVP season with the Eagles. He's reunited with Frank Reich, who knows how to coach him properly, I think. He's got an offensive line there that's probably top 5 in the NFL, with Quentin Nelson leading the way. And, I just think all the ingredients are there for him to have a nice comeback this season. And he's being drafted 25th quarterback off the board,
Right.
26th. Like for that guy, especially in a super flex league, if you can get him at 24, 25, I think you're stealing money right now.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So that's my perspective. Like I said, I'm a homer for the guy, so it's an unbiased take, but I just see him having tremendous upside for where you're getting him right now.
I totally agree.
You love him so much that you switched allegiances when he went to the Colts. You're now a Colts fan.
I have dual citizenship.
Oh, whoa, way, ho! I can't be having Colts fans on here.
No.
I got to go. One of us has got to go.
All of a sudden, Jason's box just blacks out.
What happened to Jason? No Colts allowed per Hollywood. No Colts, no Jacksonville fans.
No, you got to say it right, Joey.
I'm sorry, Sucksonville.
Sucksonville.
If we're having that rule, then no Packer fans.
I'm good with that. That eliminates Kyle.
Yeah, no, I actually like Carson Wentz this year too. I liked him more when I thought T.Y. Hilton was going to be a little more healthy.
Right.
He was going to provide that. He's on short-term IR for now.
At least
probably.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
But who knows with
the
T.Y.
rules change, actually. They can come back in like week 4 now.
I think
really?
it's 3 weeks now,
Short-term
yeah.
IR, which I don't know if that's a COVID thing or what the deal is.
I
was surprised by that too. But
yeah,
he has a disc issue, Hilton.
Yeah.
So that I know he had a surgery like on his neck, which I'm not.
That's never good.
But 3 weeks seems like a pretty quick turnaround for a procedure of that sort. So
exactly.
I think Paris Campbell's got an opportunity now to really. He's a guy that's been affected by injuries as well, and with Ty out of the way, he could really blossom too. So it's not like they're short on weapons there.
I like Paris Campbell more of like a yak guy. He uses speed in the screen game and the short intermediate routes. I think Ty would have been that nice like Deshaun Jackson style player for Carson Wentz, because Carson Wentz thrived when he had that nice deep threat.
Yep.
But we'll see who fills that role. But I do like the take.
Or what's his name? Mike Strahan, is that his name? The receiver?
Strahan, yeah.
Yeah.
I always think of Michael Strahan when I see him.
Are y'all buying into some of that love? I've seen a lot of buzz around him here lately.
I haven't looked into him enough. Jason, you?
Yeah, so I know a little bit about him. He's really a size receiver. I don't think he's got the speed, but he's certainly somebody that's going to be a contested balls, red zone threat. And as you said, with Ty going down, certainly that opens an opportunity for him as well. Because I don't think the Colts have a lot of receivers with size. So, they get down in tight. They have Mo Alley Cox, he's a big guy. But if you can put this Strahan and you can put Mo Alley Cox on the field at the same time, down tight at the end zone, that gives you options and big bodies.
Yep.
So, he could be a guy that goes, 350 yards, but 5 touchdowns or something on the season.
Yeah.
When they get in tight, they're gonna look to him.
All right. Yeah, Carson Wentz. I'm in on that.
All right, cool.
John, how about you, bud?
2 guys I liked in the rookie drafts that were falling. Amon-Ra, we already talked about a little bit. I think that dude has superstar ability. Like, I think his, how tactical he is in his route running. Obviously the system isn't going to be great for him right off the bat, projecting what we are projecting for Detroit. But if there's a receiver to own there, that's a guy. He was falling, pretty well into late second, middle second. A lot of these rookie drafts. Another rookie I really like that, obviously because of preseason, everybody's in on now is Kylan Hill. I think he fits that Green Bay system very well. I think right off the bat, he's better than A.J. Dillon, but, nobody's going to agree with me on that one. But, Aaron Jones is Aaron Jones. He's still going to put up those numbers. But, if something happens or, we know that they like to rotate there. So if Kylan Hill seems like he's made the most of his snaps versus A.J. Dillon, I know it's just preseason, but he's a guy I really like. And then on the defensive side, I would say those second-year linebackers from last year. I'm a little bullish on a couple of those guys, Jordan Brooks and Kenneth Murray in particular.
I love Kenneth Murray.
Yeah, I think they take the step this year. Murray especially. I know with Derwin back, it's gonna hurt his tackle upside a little bit, but I think a full year in that system, kind of being the guy there, I think he's gonna come into his own this year.
Yeah, plus there's the talk of him blitzing a little more, which is something he did very well in college. So that could add on to his playmaking upside. I actually have Murray ranked as my number 9 linebacker in my redraft rankings. I jumped him all the way up into my top 10. I love Kenneth Murray this year.
I think
Yep,
Staley
I like
going
Murray
there
a lot,
too
too.
is going to help him a lot. 'Cause he knows how to use them. You know,
Yeah,
Yep.
there's not a lot
definitely.
of defensive-minded head coaches in the league, and he's one of them now. So
Yeah,
Yep.
he's really into analytics too. I read a real cool article on him. Maybe PFF put it out last year about the Rams defense kind of going into this role, and everything was numbers, like percentages, statistics, everything.
Yeah.
So, be cool to see him now with Derwin and Kenneth Murray and Joey Bosa. That'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, maybe some other coaches should start looking into that a little bit more because I mean he made the Rams defense the best in the NFL, so maybe that works. I don't know.
you can try it.
It's like not everybody has the mind for it, but if they want to try to learn from Staley a little bit, figure out how he did that. It's kind of like if you date back to baseball, the Oakland A's Moneyball. All they did was just they made contracts work with the right guys, and they became a playoff team. It's like,
Absolutely helps when you have number 99 on the front, though.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right. He can make a lot of geniuses.
Evan, how about you? Who's your guys this year?
Oh, I've got a list. I'm really excited about. As for rookies, I love Elijah Moore. He's for me, like, I'm not saying that he's the most talented or anything, but I think he's probably my favorite rookie wide receiver. I just really, really love his game. I love the dog. I love the fight, and I think he's just got such a great position there with the Jets. You know, he could easily him and Zach Wilson could easily just become an amazing thing for the next few years. So I'm really high on him, and one that's probably less obvious is I was really high on Jarrett Patterson. In the pre-draft. So I actually had him as I think he was my RB 6 or something like that in the class. And it looked really bad when he went undrafted and stuff, but I knew it was going to be tough for him with his size and everything like that. But I was just really happy that he got a chance at Washington, and then he just absolutely balled out in the preseason there, and they ended up cutting Barber, who's useless anyway. But yeah, it's awesome to see him just make the roster. And I genuinely think, he could get some run this year, and see what he could do in that, because even Barber was getting a good few goal line touches and some valuable touches and stuff like that. So if Gibson misses any time, or even if he doesn't, I could easily see him getting a little bit of play there. So I'm excited about him. And yeah, I mean, there's quite a few I really like. For second year players, I'm really excited about Mooney, and also really excited for Visca. So
I was waiting for it.
Big Visca.
Do you want to
big
trade
Visca fan?
Love LaVisca.
Yeah. Shut up.
Yes.
Yeah. So and for
shut up.
IDP, I mean, I'm excited about a couple guys that I think maybe aren't as being as hyped, maybe more sleepers. Well, at least for me, be Jordan Fuller. I'm really think he's going to take over a lot of the John Johnson role. That's what I'm hearing in preseason, just from articles and just paying attention, in the kind of beat reporters and stuff. I think he looked really good last year, and I think he could be really valuable in that role this year for them. And also just even their rookie linebacker, Ernest Jones, I'm actually pretty interested in, pretty high on personally. I think the Rams in general fascinate me with their approach to the draft and the way they ship out picks, because they really believe in their ability to hit on guys in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, because the way that they scout, the way that they look into players, and they're not as interested in some of the traditional things that a lot of other teams are looking for, but they're able to find these gems like these Jordan Fullers and, these other players that they're picking out of the 5th, 6th, 7th round that, are actual contributors straight away. So I'm excited about him, and Cameron Curl as well in Washington. I think he's another success story, probably a waiver wire guy last year, but he's played so well. He's made the 53, he looks like he's got a role, and he just looked really, really good last year. So somebody else that I thought maybe we'd have to wait another year for until Landon Collins moved on maybe, but it looks to me like he could actually have a good role there and be valuable to your roster again.
Yeah, actually, if you watch preseason when him and Collins played next to each other, Collins was actually taking more snaps deep while Curl was playing more in the box, which I thought was actually quite interesting. I thought it was going to be Collins more or less because he spent pretty much his entire career playing more in the box, and it was Curl going to be the guy. So he might be the guy with a higher tackle floor.
And they were bringing in Curl to blitz and stuff like that as well, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, I
so
wonder
that's
if Collins playing deep has anything to do with their concerns about his durability at this point. You know, because if he's sticking his nose in there every play, and they think he's fragile or that he's injury prone at this point, maybe they just made a conscious decision to keep him back and stick Curl up front.
it's not a bad idea. I mean, he showed in the past that he can be a playmaker, and Curl showed last year that he can play in the box pretty efficiently. So
yeah, because at first it didn't make sense to me either. So I'm just trying to find a way to rationalize it.
right, but I mean, it worked.
Sure.
I mean, they both played well, but yeah, I was very surprised to see that.
Let's be honest, that front's so good. I don't really think they need a box safety as much as we think they do.
That's right.
I know.
What's the box safety going to do? Hang out.
He's just gonna say, "Hey guys, he got him. Don't worry about it."
And I can definitely back up Evan's Elijah Moore take. He mother effed me for taking him in that RSO regularly.
Oh yeah. Well, he's got even more of a role now because Jamison Crowder just went down, didn't he?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I think that Jamison Crowder is going to be missing time. If I could be wrong, but I thought I just saw that Jamison Crowder might be missing some time, so that opens the door wide open for Elijah Moore.
I think Evan cut his brake lines. That's what I heard.
I think, they got the threats. I wrote the anonymous threats.
He's actually he's been spending a lot of time with a team psychiatrist, and he decided he's going to step away from the game for a little bit.
Right.
I think we know why now.
Elijah Moore to the moon.
So I have a couple of guys myself. So a couple of linebackers. Cole Holcomb. I think he's going to be sneaky good in Washington this year. Like you said, no need for box safety, but he actually there was many games in the preseason where he was wearing the dot calling the plays for the defense. I thought it was going to be either Bostic or John Davis, whoever plays middle, but it was Cole Holcomb that was wearing it. So I think Cole Holcomb's going to have a significant role in that defense, and I think it was like his last 6 games last year. He averaged a tackle every 7 snaps or something like that. Like he finished the season incredibly strong last year. So.
Yeah, he's just going to stay off the injury report, and
exactly.
I think he's going to be a linebacker, high end linebacker too at the worst.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I think he could be a sneaky good high IDP play for you. Yep.
That, and then another guy who's seems like he's got a new role running an offense is Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson's going to be running that Cincinnati defense, and there's really that defense. It sucks. I'm sorry, it's not great, and there's nobody in the linebacker group at all. I mean, Jermaine Pratt's shown that he is exactly a Pratt. Like he's just he has not been great at all. We lost Evan.
I think Pratt's going to get replaced by Marcus Bailey at some point this year. That's going
and
to
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
if Bailey could be healthy, I mean, I would not be surprised. But so that then. Mike Gesicki is my guy this year. I've been diving real deep into Gesicki this year, and a lot of people are down on him. But I went into a deep dive, and I did last year's comparison between him and T.J. Hawkinson because I was blown away by how much Hawkinson hype is. I get his role might be expanded, but he's being drafted in like tight end premium drafts in like the late 2nd, early 3rd round, and Gesicki's going like the 8th or 9th. And you look at them last year. In less snaps, he had virtually the same numbers as T.J. Hawkinson, and he was better in numerous categories. And he's an athletic freak. Plus, he was Tua's favorite target the last 4 games of the season. It was like 384 yards and 3 touchdowns, or 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. And you add, everybody says Jalen Waddle, add Will Fuller, it's going to take from Gesicki, but it's really going to open up for Gesicki because now he's going to just be a seam monster. And we actually saw it in preseason. He averaged like over 20 yards per reception in the preseason with Tua. So it's like, I think Gesicki's in for a huge year when everybody's talking about he's done.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that.
Say Hawkinson
valuable.
He doesn't have that cool ass hair though.
He doesn't. Hawk's got some hair on him.
Yeah, but you can also say that Hawkinson is probably not going to progress more than he already has because he's going from Stafford, who has an arm, can spread it around, to Jared Goff, who's probably not going to be the answer and probably going to is definitely a step back for the quarterback position. Yeah. So I would say, Hawkinson, I think he's going to get the targets because there's not a lot he's going to be kind of forced into that role. But I also think that he's probably going to be either stale with last year or stepping back a little bit.
Right. Well, I get the volume argument too with Hockenson, but then I also think if you're a defensive coordinator and you're facing that team, where are you putting your resource? Like
exactly, you're locking in on
Hockenson, and you're saying beat me somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to double team those guys, and you're going to make sure that they're covered by your scheme. So he's going to have his work cut out for him.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I'm just saying I'm waiting on tight end, and I'll take Gesicki all day in like the 8th, 9th round, and everybody can jump on Hawk. You want to grab Hawk in the 3rd? I'll just grab like Allen Robinson or somebody like that.
Yeah.
So I got the update from Evan. He said he's going to go try to find his charger because his laptop just died.
Oh no!
Oh no!
He's like, the laptop just died. So, and mine as well was going through an automatic repair procedure, and it cannot. So I think mine is officially like dead.
Oh, that's bad. You gotta get a new computer there, bud.
Yeah, I know. I got one for work. I bought this Chromebook. It was pretty cheap, so I just got it for work for doing the real estate stuff. And now it's just like, all right.
Yeah, I got to get me a new one too. I love mine. I hate that it's got problems charging. I guess that's partly my fault because I always leave it plugged up, so I don't let it, let the battery die down and then charge. So.
Yeah, you don't want to know the cost of my computer.
No, I don't.
Cars that are.
I just want the money that your computer costs.
Which one though? Which computer? You probably have like 7 at that
exactly.
place.
Well, I definitely am looking at 3, 4. There's a laptop, my phone. I mean, you could probably count like 6 screens in front of me right now. So yeah, there is that. But
it's actually for his OnlyFans account. It's not for IDP.
Oh, yeah. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
Oh shit!
You gotta pay bills, man.
Yeah.
Oh
man,
my gosh.
Paid for a $5,000 computer.
Oh my gosh. What did you just say? What's wrong with you? My first like 3 cars weren't that much. Actually, I bought a 71 Chevy pickup that wasn't that much.
I'm pretty sure if you were to
and I love
the value of every single car. I don't know what that is. That's Joey. Yep, that's Joey.
Way to go, Joey.
Yep.
You had one job, literally, Joey. One.
The Chromebook strikes back.
He was just talking about that Chromebook too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk some more shit, Joey.
Yeah. I mean, for reference, I'm a graphic designer, and website designer, so like my computer needs to be tip-top shape, and I got a maxed out iMac, so yeah, that was a nice, $5,000 drop in the bucket. So
I just got a deal. That's all I got.
I got iMac. It was probably like $3,500, but I mean, everything is on there. Like anything that I need. Yeah, I just put it on there, and then like I have a MacBook, which I kind of just take wherever and write articles, toss it around.
Try unmuting, Joey.
Unmute. He's lost. What's this thing that's glowing in front of him, by the way?
It's the light on his microphone. If he turns it away from the camera, it would. So it's probably your connection, Joey. It probably got loose.
Georgia,
I would hand signal him, but I'm afraid he'd take it the wrong way. Oh, shoot. Way to go, Joey.
We're technical difficulties.
Technical, yeah. He's not. I don't know. He didn't have this problem the previous week, so I don't know what's happened.
I think he bumped it. Oh,
boy.
he's going to the headphones.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
There we
Lord.
go.
He's going to wind up hanging himself right here. Watch this. Oh.
Hmm.
I'm laughing because this give me a flashback to IDP Nation. We did a live show. Or no, actually, it was IDP Lounge last year. And we had my buddy Sean Duget on. And for like 30 minutes, he was trying to figure out how to get the sound in. You remember, Nate?
Probably, yeah.
That crap. Oh, that was funnier than crap. Oh. I'm having flashbacks right now. We've
You're on
actually
mute.
increased viewers since Joey went silent. Imagine that.
You've muted yourself, so you have to hit the unmute.
I forgot I
Let's see if
muted
I can
myself.
go in.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, there you
Hey,
go.
way to
I don't know
go,
what happened there.
Einstein.
I
You
switched
had
my
one
headphones
job
and
there,
everything's
buddy.
Good now.
And we're back.
Shut up, Hollywood. What's up, dudes? Sorry about that.
Yeah. Oh. And we got another one
Oh,
back.
you drug Evan in with you too.
It's a
Evan,
2
you
for
just
1. We
missed
got
it.
Joey actually unmuted and Evan joined us.
I mean,
My headphones went wacky on me, and I couldn't hear a word anybody was saying, and then I muted myself for a while.
whoa, you've got like a crazy light flashing as well. It's like blinding.
It's a glare.
It's-
I know.
Yeah.
Not even plugged in, so.
Yeah, just get that out of the way.
Oh, that is plugged in.
Apologies, the
Yep,
laptop
definitely
died.
Oh, it's actually on his microphone.
That's good.
See, I thought it was on the screen. I was like, how is he doing that?
No, that's on my mic. That's my
Fuck.
on button.
Thought he was wearing some sort of futuristic shirt.
Actually, I got this shirt from Evan. This is from.
You could see that he was a cyborg for a moment. His like lights were
God.
shining through.
I got this in the mail from Ireland one day, and I was like, "What the frick? What does it say on here?
Is it ticking?
About ye, keep her lit,
You.
pure class."
Cool.
And what's the crack? Explain the crack.
What's the crack?
What's a crack? Oh,
Yeah, crack. CRAIC.
yeah.
What's the crack? It's like, what's up? What's happening? What's the crack?
What's cracking?
What's the crack?
Yeah.
With
Well,
Hollywood,
I'm
it's when he
using that
bends
on
over.
somebody. What's the crack?
Exactly.
Where's the
What's
Don't
crack?
do that where you're from, Hollywood. They're gonna actually sell you crack. You're gonna go to the
That's
wrong
very
person
possible.
and say, "What?" You're like, "What's
That's
the
very
crack?" They're like,
possible.
"Do you really want some?" You're like, "What? No. What?" Oh,
5
So-
for 12, 10 for 20.
I mean, if you buy enough, they'll throw in a spoon, I'm sure.
so Evan, you missed it. I was talking about my love for Mike Gesicki.
Oh dear.
Not a fan.
It caused the Chromebook.
No, I
to
mean,
die.
it's fine. I always usually go for like Waller. You know.
Oh, of course. I mean, Darren Waller's
Yeah.
is a baller. I did the wrong thing there
Exactly.
again.
Oh, wow.
No, I think Darren Waller's. I think the tight end too. So we're gonna talk about this. I just can't. I can't reach in a tight end. I have to wait for a tight end. I can't do it.
Oh,
Can't do it.
rookie mistake.
Oh man, and I can't say I've beaten Evan in games because I actually lost to him in the championship game last year in the league we're in together, and it really broke my heart. He had
It
freaking
was-
Jamal
and you
Agnew
had
playing
Kamara.
defensive back, and he scored a return touchdown. So he had Jamal Agnew playing defensive back and scored him like 15 points. I was like,
I survived the Kamara massacre.
yeah, everybody
Was it-
else on my team just like fell on their face. It was horrible.
Wasn't Agnew a wide receiver last year?
He was wide
No,
receiver,
he was playing
defensive back
DB
eligible.
for the Lions, wasn't he?
Oh,
And then he like returned a kickoff for a touchdown
Yep.
in the championship.
oh
league
yeah, I mean,
on
he
my
does
team.
that, but he
Dude,
was
you get return yards, so
yeah. I love return yards. It's a little extra wrinkle.
yeah, we needed it too. And that league's so deep. It's a 53-man roster, 16-team league,
Damn.
and it hurts. I
beautiful.
think I started Ray
beautiful.
McLeod a couple of weeks, just because he got return yards. Like, all right, I'm a little thin of receiver right now.
Some dumpster diving.
Oh, horrible
Hmm.
dumpster diving.
And this is the league that you sold Justin Jefferson in, just to be clear.
Oh, I've made much more trades.
Why would you need a stud, top 5, top 10 wide receiver in a 16 team 53-man roster? I mean, what's the point, really?
Listen, I already rostered Brandon Ayuk, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, Marquise Brown in that league. So
Marquise Brown, why'd you throw that one in there? That brought the whole room down.
Honestly, if you look at him, look at his numbers when he's healthy. He actually plays very well. He's efficient in the red zone, which is, I mean, Lamar Jackson throws a lot of touchdown passes. He does. He really does. He's efficient in the red zone.
Catches a lot of.
Mark Andrews did not do that much last year in comparison to the previous.
No. Miss me with the Marquise Brown. As a fellow Brown, I speak on behalf.
I have something for you guys. I don't want to get too deep into it in terms of names or anything like that, but I think I might have been one of the first ones that kind of addressed the tweet that came out earlier this week about unfollowing all IDP people, and it wasn't a preferred way to play, and I don't want to bring any notoriety to the person or anything like that, but I just was kind of curious your guys' thoughts on how you feel. So I don't know if you guys saw my replies to it, but basically my thought process on it was I don't feel like it should be so much about your interactions with people who play IDP like IDP, provide IDP content, and more about why you don't prefer it. So I was just kind of, I know Nate and Joey, I believe, both replied to it, maybe a couple of you other guys, but I know we all can't be as kind of even keel and be like, hey, let's have a conversation about it. Sometimes it's hey man, this is bullshit or whatever. But yeah, I'm just interested in your guys' take on it.
So there's a select few in the community that are just incredibly negative people, and it's and unfortunately those negative few are incredibly outspoken, and I've seen them shame people for not playing IDP, saying that if you don't play IDP you don't know what you're talking about. It's not true. I mean, we love IDP. I love IDP because it does make me pay attention to the entire NFL game, but it doesn't mean that I know more than anybody else. It just means that I know more about IDP than that person does. So I'm not going to say you suck for saying you don't want to play IDP, but the way you said it and saying that I'm going to unfollow everybody in IDP because they all have bad attitudes, no, you're just interacting with the wrong people. The reason I brought you guys all on tonight is because you're all incredibly genuinely nice people, and I enjoy interacting with you guys. It's you need to be able to decipher who you're interacting with, and if the people you interact with all the time are just incredibly negative, maybe pay attention to that as opposed to what they talk about, because just the fact that they're IDP guys doesn't make them shitty people. It just means that they are in general shitty people. You know what I mean? It's you can't group a whole group of people. Isn't that as a world, what we're trying to get away from is just grouping people as certain things. It's people are individuals, treat them as such.
Yeah. Well, I would say that, we've had many conversations in the past, and Joey and I have had conversations as well on certain individuals, and this, small section of IDP that just seems to I would say, cause trouble to get their voice out rather than just win on the content alone. If you put out a good article, I want to support you. I think most people in the community want to support you. And that's what it should all be about. I'm all about supporting the IDP community as a whole, because in the end, I look at it this way. we're the IDP guys. You guys are Dynasty Nerds. People can look at different websites. I guess that's a novel concept that, most people out there doing research is going to go, they're going to have maybe multiple subscriptions, looking at different articles, everything that comes their way. So I look at it as, in the end, if we just together build up more IDP players, then that's a bigger pie for all of us. So, I mean, why shouldn't we be working together? Why shouldn't we be connected as a community? And that's what I love about the IDP Lounge, is just that idea of, hey, we can bring on people that aren't part of our little bubble. Because as we've seen in the past with politics and all those other things, like when you get stuck in a bubble, you know, it's just an echo chamber and it kind of all sucks and you got bad opinions in the end. So why not break out of that? And the coolest thing was going to the expo. I don't know if you guys were able to make it, but I was there, and it was just a matter of like everyone, like the drama of Twitter was just gone. Outside of like one person that I just kind of did not see, which, you know, is involved in this conversation, but the drama of Twitter was gone, and everyone just kind of walked up to each other, talked, had, you know, conversations. And I think really what it is there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there in Twitter land. And
Right.
And that's what causes all of this. Hey man, I actually like mended a fence with someone that used to be a writer for us that went on and threw barbs at us like yearly. He came right up to the booth, shook my hand, huge smile on his face, and it's over. Like that whole beef is done. I'm in a league with him now, and we, you know, are kind of talking like through Twitter DMs like pretty regularly. So it can happen if you put aside the stupid keyboard and all that stuff and just have human interactions. Like in the end, we're all a community. We're all working towards a common goal. Like we don't need to have the riffs and the drama.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to bring anything down. I was just interested in your guys' thoughts and like if there's anything that like you guys feel as a whole that like all of us can do better to maybe not promote like negativity like that. You know what I mean? And working together, man. And working together, I think they
like that it's huge. Like everybody. There's so many people that want to make it. So it's like, sure, I would love to have a full-time job doing this, but I want to have fun while I'm doing it. I'm not going to try to make enemies because I want to make myself look like the best guy out here. So cross promotion, like I try to promote as much as Jason's stuff as I see every time I see it. It's like if you can read his writing style, it's phenomenal. It sucks you right in. So I try to promote as much as I can. Just cross promote each other. And like once you cross promote, people see more information. The more information you get, the more you want to play. The more you want to play, the more people there are, and which gives us more audience. So it's like I honestly feel like cross promotion is huge.
Yeah. I was just going to say too. I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Evan. You go first.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, because I'm obviously the outsider in this conversation, because I'm not like an IDP expert like you guys. You know, for me, honestly, you know, again, you know, not naming names and things like that, but just saying like, you know, one of the things, obviously at the end of the day, IDP is a much smaller subsection of fantasy still at this stage in the game, you know, than just offensive only. And I didn't get into IDP for a really long time because it does feel very, when you don't play and you're not used to it, it feels very intimidating. You know, you're like, I don't understand the scoring. What scoring should I be using? How many players should I be starting? I don't know. So like anything, you go around looking for experts or people that can help you and can, you know, because that's how you, I mean, me personally, one of the reasons I really got into fantasy football, like analyzing and podcasts and stuff, was because of the fantasy footballers. You know, they're very great ambassadors for the sport, for, you know, the hobby of fantasy football. They're very fun. They're funny. They're amicable. They're knowledgeable. You know, they're very easy. So, you know, and then you find more people and you find people you like and you connect to and you relate to and things like that. But on the journey of IDP, I mean, honestly, I would say, like, and I'd just be really honest, like at first glance, it is really off-putting a lot of times. You know, that's one of the reasons why I'm really kind of passionate about it. It's not because I am an IDP analyst, is because I do think it's a great side of the game. I think it's really interesting. It adds a lot of perspective. It makes the game in general a lot more fun and engaging, I think. But also, I think there's a lot of guys like yourselves that are doing some really amazing work. And people, like you say, there may be a couple of really loud people or really loud voices that you hear or see when you first get into IDP or trying to understand it. And that can be really off-putting because there is a lot of sometimes negativity or a lot of, you know, kind of just infighting. It feels like even though the IDP is a much smaller part of the pie, it feels like that part of the pie even is divided amongst
Right.
itself and constantly infighting and like trying to tear each other down, which is really off-putting to people who aren't really in the know. You know what I mean? And then it's
100%.
almost like a gang war or something, and you're like, what is going on here? I just wanted to know if I should start 3 linebackers, okay? You know,
Right.
so yeah, I would say, like, you know, honestly, and that's one of the things, you know, that I'm really passionate about is like me and Joey started a crazy 16 team 53 man roster full IDP league over the summer, and we invited, you know, every team is co-managed, so there's 32 managers.
Awesome.
And we tried to get people from, you know, IDP guys, Dynasty Nerds, just random people that just do their own, you know, writing or podcast or whatever, just people that don't play IDP, people that are great at IDP, and just a whole mix of people, because, you know, I think IDP is really fun, and it won't be for everybody, but I think the more that good people and the good platforms and the good information can get out there and make it more kind of, I guess, easy to access for people that don't know about it, the better it is. And so for me, that's something I like being somebody that can help do that, because I am just, you know, just an IDP noob or, you know, rookie or whatever you want to call it. But I really love the game, and I try and learn, and I try and absorb knowledge off people, but I also want to help other people who've never played IDP, you know, get more into it and try it out and things like that, so I can help point people in the right direction of people. So it's, you know, it's an interesting, I would say it is an interesting conversation. And from somebody who's not in it as deep as you guys are, you know, it is a bit off-putting at first. And there are some personalities that make it, I would say, you know, that's what I mean is, I guess what I'm saying is from the outside looking in, I would say at first glance, it does feel like, whoa, there's some crazy people in the IDP world. I don't know what's going on there, you know, but there's some really awesome people and some really great content and some really interesting, you know, things. So I think it's definitely a work in progress, but I understand where the person was coming from that said that. I don't agree, obviously, because I mean, I'm here with you guys. I've got a lot of friends that do IDP, and, you know, a lot of great people that I really support and respect that do IDP, but I understand where they're coming from, because it does feel like a lot of times you can see some really brash, arrogant, difficult statements or tweets or things happening that come out of the IDP community, and you're like, what is happening here, you know?
Yeah, so what I would definitely say regarding that tweet that was sent out, I have no problem with that guy having that opinion and just unfollowing those people. Like, I unfollow people every day. I don't necessarily make a list and send out like a tweet saying, hey man, hey Twitter world, I'm unfollowing all of these people. You know, so that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. So I mean, I'm the kind of guy that, like, when someone says like, oh, like, I don't like this whole community, I say, well, if I'm part of that community, you know, I'll jump up first and be like, okay, well, bye. And I think that's pretty much what I said. I didn't really go any farther with it, but like, I would say that this whole drama and everything that's been going on in IDP is pretty recent. I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years, and when we first started, you know, up to like 3 years ago, there was little bits of like drama, but it was always behind closed doors. There was never anyone that was just championing themselves as like creating drama to make them better. It was just like there'd be a DM with someone and you guys don't get along, so you have some words, and it was behind the scenes and stuff. So that's like a new thing, and I think that's honestly causing a problem for new people coming into the community, because they see that and they don't know what's going on, because why would people act like that?
So I think what I've noticed with a lot of the people that do it, it's like, it's more of, instead of trying to be a IDP person, you're trying to be a Twitter personality. Like that's like, that comes first and foremost with a lot of the angst that comes out of it. So it's like, you're trying to create issues. You want to call somebody out on something. You want to subtweet somebody on something, or you want to say this person did this wrong, or you want to say this person this wrong. Follow me because I do this. It's just like, that's not the way to go about getting followers. And if the only followers you're going to get is going to be like a select type of follower. It's like, you're not going to go out to a vast array of people. You're going to have just a small group of people. So it's like, as much as you want to go ahead, and when people go ahead and throw all that BS out on Twitter, you want to defend yourself. I've learned over the past 2 years, just like, whatever. Let them have their say, and then just let your content do the work. I mean, if you're putting out good content, people are going to follow you. People are going to listen to your stuff, and then
Exactly.
that loud mouth will eventually quiet and go away. It's like just keep
Yeah.
doing your work, stay focused on your work, promote everybody who's good with you, and just go from there. Build the community as much as you can without trying to be a part of the community that's negative.
For the record, I didn't follow the person who sent the tweet. I think it popped up on my timeline for a topic because it was IDP, and my like goal there was just to have an actual conversation with him, like regarding it, and like not looking for anyone in specific, like name wise, who was negative, but just to say like, hey, if you're gonna put things like that out on Twitter, because like I mean it's Twitter, you're allowed 140 characters, you're allowed to do whatever the hell you want. But like at the end of the day, like I'm with you guys on like when it is like a community or something that you're very passionate about, is like, hey, like why? You know what I mean? Like let's have a conversation about it. You know what I mean? Like without having you to say like, here, check out this quote tweet that, you know, I had an interaction with said person that I don't like. Like I'm not about that. I'm not buying into any of that negativity. Like I don't want any part of that in my life. I don't got time for it personally. So but yeah, just like that person. And at the end of the day, like we have this conversation and he followed me. So you know what I mean? Like and it's like not what I was trying to do at all. Like I'm not here to make a ton of friends or anything like that, but like I think when you say something like that, I think it is kind of one of the things I wanted to do is logically like explain it to me. And if at the end of the day it's the ends don't justify the means, you know what I mean? If I put all this time into IDP and it's still so much luck to me, I'm with you. Like same thing like Evan said, like I get it, you know what I mean? Like if that's your, you know what I mean, that's your stance on it, like I'm not looking to change that or anything like that, but like let's have a conversation about it. So maybe like when I'm trying to get someone else into IDP, someone newer, or they're asking me questions or in my DMs or whatever, like let me use that as maybe ammo to say like, hey, I understand that this could be a risk when taking this on, but like this is what, you know, this is the good part of it. You know, there's pros and cons of everything. So
definitely.
Yeah. And to go along what Joey's saying about being positive and building up the community and letting your work kind of speak for itself. One guy that, and I'll bring up a name here that has really kind of risen up in the last, probably since last summer. Detroit Beastie came out of almost nowhere. And this guy is, I mean, I got to meet him at the expo. I communicate with him all the time. We've had him on this show multiple times. Just a guy, just always positive, puts out a good message, but puts out a ton of content.
Yes,
and he's got, I don't know, 15,000 followers after pretty much like a year on the platform. So he's definitely doing something right and being able to build pretty much his own community and, you know, from the platform. So he's a guy that I definitely want to shout out and give kudos for doing it the right way.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. I guess the one thing I was going to say, and it's kind of been covered indirectly by some of the other people here, is one thing I try to keep in mind, especially when you're interacting with people on social media, is a lot of our followers or the people that we interact with are other analysts. But what you neglect to see is there's people that are either new to the format or established in the format that are following you and expecting you to be an ambassador or a leader. And when they see you get down in the mud and they see you start swapping tweets back and forth and accusing people of this and that, that turns people off. And so I always kind of try to take a minute before I hit respond, you know, before I think about how I'm going to respond, and think about if that's somebody, you know, that's their first day in IDP and they read that tweet from me, is that going to be encouraging and welcoming, or is that going to push them away? If it's going to push them away, you're not serving the format.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I think that's what I was trying to say with the whole thing about like the fantasy footballers. And then when I got into more Dynasty and stuff, one of the first guys that I connected with was Garrett Price over at the Dynasty Nerds. And like honestly, I mean, you couldn't honestly, genuinely, I'm not just saying this, you know, because he's Dynasty Nerd, like you couldn't find a nicer guy or a better ambassador for like dynasty fantasy football, because I've never ever seen or heard him go out of his way to like say something rude or mean or negative or down on somebody. And he's very outspoken about his faith. He's a Christian, and he'll do stuff on his platform about being a Christian and stuff, and that's a very touchy subject in and of itself, when you're sharing your faith as well as fantasy football. And yet he's always had such a class and such a a genuine and he's the reason I'm even in this at all, because I actually reached out to him just for advice, and he ended up saying, hey, do you want to come do some writing or something like that with us? And but he's such and that is exactly, so I think to Jason's point, I think that is exactly, and that's what I try to do. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but and I'm not saying I'm famous or anything like that, because I'm not. But when I interact with people, or whether they're being other analysts or whatever, I try to just basically not get into any sort of negative, because I feel like when it gets to a certain level, the people that are involved, they're not really looking for rational just discussion or enlightenment. They're just wanting to sling some mud, and I'm just like, I'm not interested in that. So I'm here for it. If somebody asks me a question about something I posted, or somebody wants to know who's some good people to follow, then I'm all about that. And let me give you some ideas, or let me talk about why I think so and so is a good sleeper or whatever. But people start calling names and pointing fingers and making accusations. To be honest, I just scroll past it, and just don't even. And I think that's one thing, is that some people in there's people like that in every community, but then, like you say, when you're trying to get into IDP and you only know maybe 5 or 10 people in the IDP community, some of the IDP people can be quick to get abrasive or aggressive in their back and forths and stuff like that. And it's like, whoa, this can be, like you say, it just can be a bit of a turn off, but it's not everybody. And I think that's something we can all learn from, whatever part of the community we're in, is like this whole fighting and, name calling and pointing fingers is very, middle school, and it just doesn't really need to be there, especially if we all are taking ourselves seriously in any way, shape, or form as analysts, as people who want to help other people be better at the sport. I mean, why are we calling people names and acting childish about it?
Yeah, that's kind of like, I know a lot of you guys are dads. I think my personal filter is, the internet lives forever, so anything you tweet out, how would I feel if my kids grow up someday and say, oh, I'm going to go research my dad's Twitter account, and they read some of the things that I had to say. If I'm not comfortable with my kids reading what I'm putting out, then I'm not putting it out there, because, I want to be proud of what I stood for and what I had to say. I don't want to feel ashamed if my kids find that, or my wife finds that. I want to stand on what I have to say and be positive and be a good influence. I don't want to have stuff out there that I'm trying to hide from. So that's kind of my rule of thumb, or my filter, when I think about what I'm going to send out. It's like, that's going to come back someday. It's a boomerang.
Yeah, I think like with my point with like saying like a lot of these guys are like Twitter personalities as opposed to analysts, or like trying to just like promote IDP. It's like, so I feel like with IDP, if you look at the guys who've been doing it for such a long time, you have like, excuse me, you have Gary Davenport, you have guys like Mike Wohlert, John. I mean, you guys have been doing it for so long, and you're incredibly humble about it. And most of the stuff that you tweet, you very rarely, you're never sitting there saying what you're doing at that moment, or what you're going to do later today, or I just talked to this person, or I just talked to that person. And you're like, if you're going to tweet something that isn't about your content, you're tweeting out something that's going to be about a certain player. It's always information based. It's never agenda based. It's always information based, and it's backed up with what you have to prove your point, not prove your point, but just to showcase what you're saying. And what I feel like most of these people do is like, with these people with the attitudes, it's like they're literally on Twitter all day, and they're just looking for things to attack. And it's like, you look at the guys who've done it forever, they don't do any of that. It's always content. It's always content, and it's never. I mean, I have no problem interacting with people, but when you're on Twitter for too long, it becomes a rabbit hole.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the other thing too is just, this is like a societal thing, but disagreement, positive disagreement, has become a lost art. There's no such thing as a constructive like, I've had interactions with people where I'll say, that take I don't agree with, and here's why, and we go back and forth, and sometimes, like John said, it results in a follow, or somebody says, hey, I really appreciated that conversation. Just because you disagree with somebody doesn't mean it has to be aggressive, or it
Me
has
and
to
me and
be,
Evan
I'm
do it
tearing
all
you
the
down
time,
because my
and,
point's better than yours.
I know Joey's constantly wrong, and I'm happy to tell him.
You should read some of the messages me and Evan have back and forth with each other. It's like we've both been so headstrong about certain players, like we can't sway the other, and we've tried. We'll spend like whole half days just back and forth. No. But listen, this is why, and it's
Bringing out statistics from high school and stuff.
Well, let's
See, but in
What's the R
in
squared
end,
value?
definitely not kid
a
ourselves.
lot of
This
us like,
this happens in everyday life, whether it's our families, our jobs, not just IDP Twitter, you know what I mean, on all facets of Twitter, like this happens. So it's not attacking any one person or anything like that, but it was just kind of something that, I mean, had my eyebrow raised a little bit this week. And it is, everyone kind of, at the end of the day, we are like one community creating content, and I just kind of was interested in your guys' thoughts on it. I didn't want to spend like too much time, but
Oh no, I mean, release the floodgates of thoughts and opinions and all that stuff. But what I would say is what we need more of is the different websites coming together and doing stuff together. And I've been on this for a couple of years now. Like when Eric moved over to Dynasty Nerds from us, I was messaging him a lot saying like, hey, see if you can't establish a connection over there and a pipeline of just communication. Like, I think that's important. Dynasty Nerds, DLF, all of the major players, just, especially on IDP side, just having some sort of a connection and a communication, because that's going to, I think, resolve a lot of things. And then it allows us to kind of move forward as a community in the sense of like, we make decisions together and like say like, okay, hey, like we really want to try and fix this. As whether it be, trying to formulate a scoring system or set of like standards or anything like that. Like if we can come together, like we've got a lot more power to help guide the community than all individually infighting and outfighting.
Yeah, I would say definitely. I agree with that because one thing, this week even I don't know if you guys know who Gary Vaynerchuk, but he's a massive like influencer and he's in loads of different things. He's an entrepreneur. He's really I really, really like him. He's an amazing guy. His story is amazing. And one of the things he tweeted out was just a little video of himself. He was just talking to the camera and he was saying about, he doesn't understand the mindset of like, if I'm succeeding, then you're failing. He's like, that's just BS. He's like, right. There's more than enough pie to go around. He's like, just because I'm succeeding doesn't mean you're failing. He's like, I want you to succeed. It's like, I want all of you guys to succeed. Just because you succeed doesn't mean I can't succeed. He's like, that's a small mindset, and I tweeted that out. I retweeted that because I so agree with that. And I see so much of that in the fantasy community as in general, let alone the IDP community. There is sometimes that mindset of like, oh, well, your rankings can't be good because that means mine are bad because we disagree, or your articles can't be good because then that means people won't read my articles or whatever, and it's like, exactly. And it's like a rising tide, raises all ships. And, I think that ultimately, especially like you said, if there's Dynasty Nerds and DLF and, the big three and all these different, IDP guys, all these guys working together, getting the message out and sharing, and getting more people involved, especially with the message of IDP, but just in general, I think that's really the way forward, and like I said, it's been really great getting to know a lot of you guys, and you guys have been really welcoming and really kind and gracious to people like me. So I think there is some awesome stuff going on in the community. It's just keep working together, keep reaching out, keep making those efforts, because I think that will be the difference. It's this mindset of it's not about the IDP guys being top dog and everyone else sucks, or Dynasty Nerds is where it's at and everyone else is crap. It's not about that. It's just about, hey, this is what we do, this is what we offer, but actually those guys are really good. And honestly, like I do that all the time. Like I'll say, like, oh yeah, Joey's awesome at IDP stuff, you should go talk to Joey. I'll give him a shout out on Twitter, where I don't just be like, oh, only talk to Gloss or Jason, because they're the
right
Dynasty Nerds guys or whatever, so I totally agree with your point. I think it's really kind of key to the whole thing is getting over this mindset of tribalism.
Yeah, the tribalism, the clicks. Like we got to break those down. We got to see like I mean, there's ways and like good things that Dynasty Nerds does well that, you know, and then IDP guys does well. Like we merge things like that. Like, I don't know. I just see we're in the wild west of IDP right now. I think like years ago, it was kind of the settlement phase, like just people coming in and you could build a bubble. And we've gotten enough bubbles now that there's a little bit of conflict happening, you know. But we're just not, there's just still so much space left to create. Like new people come on all the time and they're able to build up a good audience. Big Three, prime example. What they've been doing this 2 years now. So they're going into their third year and they're really funny. They're really good. They're like the closest thing in IDP that I've found to say like the fantasy footballers. You know, they have that potential. So like the IDP guys podcast is ending this season. Actually, I think we got our last episode coming up soon. And we, you know, Big Three isn't a part of us, but we're telling all of our fans, like, if you want, you know, a better version of what we were trying to do, it's them. So we're all about supporting people in the community, whether or not they're attached to us.
Exactly. And I think that's what people forget, because a lot of us, like you said, on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, you can end up following loads of other analysts and having loads of other analysts follow you. And so that becomes your world. And you forget that, like, we're not making content for other analysts. We're really trying to make content for people who just play fantasy football and want to get better, or they don't have the time or the desire to go and study the depth charts and know the snap shares and all that. They just want to know, who should I start? Who should I pick up? Should I trade for this person? So I think that's the thing, is getting over the idea that, like, look, ultimately there's plenty of room for Big Three and IDP guys and Dynasty Nerds, because there's loads of people who want to know about IDP that aren't analysts. And that's who we really ultimately should be doing this for.
100%.
Yeah.
That's 100% right.
From a creator standpoint, like, if you're only making content for Twitter, you're only reaching 10% of the fantasy community. You know, you got to be looking way above that and beyond. So
I appreciate you guys.
I love you all.
Yeah.
It's
It's good conversation. It's a good
I love
conversation
Lamp.
to have.
Oh Lord, Joey's trying to bro hug us all here.
I'm hugging everybody at the same time.
Joey is the hippie.
I am a hippie. I'm alright with it. I'm totally cool with that. My daughter runs around out back completely naked sometimes. I don't even care. It's a fenced in yard. Nobody can see her. Whatever. Go chase the dog.
Just to be clear, she's like a year old or something, or 2 years old. It's not like she has an 18-year-old
sorry.
in the back. Just to be clear.
It's a very good point. Yes, she's still in.
We're gonna get
diapers,
kicked
so.
off YouTube.
Context is very important.
That's very important. I didn't think about that. Jesus.
I don't know if
Thank
that's
you.
any better.
Sure it
She's
is.
a year old.
Man, when we lost
Okay.
power, I went out back here. We had no water or anything. We lost power for like 10 days last year after a hurricane. What did I do? Just went in the backyard and took a sponge bath, sat in my backyard. Dude, liberating, I'm telling you.
This is the after dark portion of the
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
This is where it got weird.
Does WTMI
If it
mean
wasn't
anything
before.
to you?
No, not at all. Not at all. I am who I am. Love me for it, or not. Or just tell me, shut up for a minute.
Well,
No, but
our
really-
one viewer right now might be a little concerned.
Oh no, it was Kyle, so it's cool.
Oh yeah, he
Poor
just
Kyle.
learned a lot more about it.
I already knew it.
All right, so we got.
Who do you
18
think
minutes,
was holding the
17
sponge?
minutes.
It was Kyle.
So the last
think
little
ran the
bit of
hose?
this, I do want to jump in here and just let's talk about. I think I know Jason's in it. Evan, I believe you're in it. John, did you get into the invitational? I can't remember if
Yes.
you guys are all in it.
Yeah.
I want to take a minute and just talk about our teams, what you're thinking about for week 1, and you know, how you're feeling after. I mean, how was your draft? How was the process like? What do you
Forgive
think
me, I
of
have 150 rosters. I got to pull it up real quick.
Yeah, it's my only Fantrax roster, so it's easy to find for me. But yeah, no, I am in the invitational, so thanks for the invite. My team is awesome. I'm gonna win the whole thing. Yeah, like it's great. But
optimistic.
the draft itself was crazy. It was like the slowest draft I've ever been part of for redraft. Like usually redraft people are super like, yeah, go. And like, because people are used to like 2-minute timers and stuff in redraft. But like this was crazy. It was like, honestly,
What
it was
division
like,
are you in?
what is it called? The oh gosh.
It's Stegosaurus.
No, it's, where do I see it on Fantrax? The division. I think it's Spinosaurus.
Spinosaurus. I know one of them was like they just finished up like a couple days ago.
Well, I remember I said, because I knew Jason was in it and I knew Joey was in it, and I remember messaging them at different times, and like Jason would be like, "Yeah, we were done like a week ago," and I'm like, "Oh, I hate you. I've still got like 7 rounds to go." I'd be like getting 1 pick every day or 2, and like they'd be like, "Yeah, so here's my 15th round. This is where I'm at." And I'm like, "I'm at the 6th round. I hate you."
Yeah.
I thought it went a little bit smoother than last year. I know last year was on MFL. I really do like the edge rusher thing, and I really hope Gary, considers that next year for MFL of going to that edge rusher spot. You know what I mean? I think that
From what I've heard, it's going to true position.
Yeah. So Sticky does a really, really good job with that thing. I don't know if you guys have ever checked out that tool. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I like the edge rusher thing. I thought it added a little bit of a different dynamic to it. The draft wasn't too long. It was just, for me, like, especially this time of year, because those Campus to Canton startups are all on Fantrax, like the next draft is. So it's like, I don't know, and Fantrax's notifications aren't the greatest sometimes, so I feel like I'll be like, "Hey, you're on deck," and then like 6 hours later, it'll be like, "You're on the clock," and then I go and I've been auto-picked. So, like, I think that may have happened to me only once or twice, and I think it was in later rounds. But overall, I think it went pretty good. I'm in Stegosaurus. I definitely don't think I have a top team there, but you never know. It's redraft. Anything could happen.
Just wait till week 3 comes by and half of the NFL is injured or on COVID leave, so you're like everybody's struggling. I mean, they haven't.
Don't you put that evil on my team?
Oh, I don't have to put the evil on your team. I've already seen your team, so that's all right. I don't worry about that.
Oh, my team is hot.
I know. You actually do have a very good team. I actually really like my team. I like my IDP. My IDP side's good. I went a little thin on running back, but I was able to land Josh Allen and Justin Hebert for my super flex, so I was pretty pumped about that.
I remember that tweet. I wasn't happy.
Yeah, it was my first 2.
Nate, you'll appreciate this. One of my 3 starting linebackers is Zaven Collins. So,
nice.
I've got Zaven Collins, Darius Leonard, and Roquan Smith as my linebackers.
Pretty fire right there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good. I've got Darius Leonard, Roquan Smith, Zadarius Smith. Oh wait, that's an edge rush. AJ Johnson. Those are my 3.
Yeah, that's good.
So
Nice.
Leonard, Smith, and Johnson. I went early in the draft for IDP, and I took the top 2, like back to back. I don't remember. Joy, was that 12th pick?
I
We're in the
don't
same
remember.
division together. I don't know. I just remember taking those 2 and being like, whatever, I'm gonna just.
I felt like the draft was really different this year than it was last year, because I was in it last year as well, and I remember more people going in IDP earlier, and then this year it felt like everybody was like holding back. So I kind of just went in. I just went for it because I ended up. That's why I got some like the top linebackers. I got TJ Watt as one of my edge rushers. Just got a couple of real studs there. And then when everybody tried to start swapping back over to go in heavy on the IDP, then I swapped back again and tried to just load up on my offense. So, it was awesome.
That's the way to go. We actually have some ADP regarding the invitational up on the website now from 2020 and then 2021. And the guy, David Kelly's actually in the chat, was doing some analysis based off of it, and he said that a lot of people waited this year on certain defensive positions, even though the scoring is set up like my Darius Leonard and Roquan Smiths are close to 20, projected at 20 points, where that's above everyone on my roster except for Patrick Mahomes.
That's what I mean. That's what I found really, and that's really cool that David did that deep dive and saw that, because I noticed that in my division. I was like, hold on a second, like, why is nobody taking? I looked at the scoring and I looked at like last year's, and I was like, dude, like I can get a wide receiver 3, or I could get a guy who scored like a wide receiver 1 right now, but he's a linebacker. Like, why would I not do that? You know, I think I was the second person. Like, I think Devin White went first, and then I jumped in and took like Roquan Smith, I think, and then I took Darius Leonard, and then waited a couple of rounds, but then grabbed Zaven, and just loaded up. I got T.J. Watt and Harold Landry, and like, do you know what I mean? Because I was just looking at the scoring and looking at the positional values and stuff, and I thought, well, yeah, with this type of scoring, it's so balanced. Why would you not want to get some of this real studs to like balance out your roster?
Right.
I actually waited on defense because I have a tendency to do that. Being, an analyst in IDP, I always think like I'll pull some gems later and I'll go heavy on offense early on. And then I was shocked to like get some decent IDP value late, because that was my strategy going in. And I thought, well, my IDPs might be kind of rough, but I'll be solid on offense. My linebackers, I ended up with Devin Bush, Deion Jones, Patrick Queen, and Isaiah Simmons. So
nice.
I'm okay with those 4, like for having waited. I didn't get the top 5 type guys that you guys did, but those are all guys that have the top, our LB1 potential, and I got 4.
And that's the thing is, I wonder, and that's another thing about IDP is that unless you're maybe like one of you guys, like an analyst, and you really, really dig into it and know all the little, a lot of times the ADP and stuff's really weird or messed up, I find, on Fantrax, especially on Sleeper and things like that. So once you get past the top 10 or 12, you're sort of scrambling a bit, and you're like, I'm not sure. And maybe like Neville Hewitt is really high in the ADP. So you're like, I'll take him. He was really good last year. But I think that's one of the things with IDP that I found it just in getting into it in the last couple of years is that you really have to keep on top of it, even more so than the offense, I think, because there's guys like, Eric Wilson's and Neville Hewitts who are like studs one year, and then the next year they're just like, waiver wire garbage, and it's like
Terrell Adams.
Yeah, Terrell Adams, a perfect example.
Savior last year. He was coming off of the waiver wire and was a beast. And this year traded and
he got cut.
He
was a free agent, then he signed, and then got cut.
I think he was linebacker 13 or 14 last year. It was crazy.
It's just that's just one of the guys that proves that just because they're good at IDP doesn't mean they're good football players.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Alex Singleton, Troy Reader, those guys are super meh. But I mean,
and that's the thing though, is like that's the thing with IDP as well that I find, like, especially when you're getting into it and new, is like it's really confusing because honestly, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Because one of the things I noticed when I was first getting into IDP, like, as I said, like last year was my first full year playing IDP. So I've only just got into it in the last couple of years. And one of the things that I heard a lot of, IDP analysts say was just like Blake Martinez is crap. Like he's been in a great position. He just sweeps up all these tackles because he plays for the Packers. He's rubbish. Now that he goes to the Giants, he's going to go way down. And he didn't. You know what I mean? He was brilliant at the Giants, and he's still great. And it's like, so you know what I mean? It's sort of one of those. Okay, it is, because I know what you mean. Like you say with Terrell Adams and guys like that, you see where like, well, they're just getting loads of opportunity. They're not great. And then they go to a different position, they get cut, or they're just crap again. But like, there's guys like Blake Martinez that, the word on the street to me, from what I could take, was that he's really not that good. He's just been boosted by a great, position, great situation. Same with, I heard a lot about, what's his name? What's the guy who just got traded from the Jags to Pittsburgh?
Schobert.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people say the same thing about Schobert. Schobert's not very good. He was just great with the Browns because he got so much opportunity and stayed healthy and blah blah blah. And so it's hard. It's like, well, what is the truth? Where's the truth in that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of with like Joe Schobert, it's like everybody says like Schobert is not a good football player. I tend to disagree with that because I mean, look what he did. So he next to Christian Kirksey, who put up 138 tackles, Joe Schobert put up 130 tackles. Next to Miles Jack, who put up 118 tackles in 14 games, he did what? He put up 140 tackles. Plus, he's a playmaker. He's not great in coverage, which is what everybody's saying. Well, he's not as good in coverage as everybody says he is. Well, he's reliable in coverage. He understands schemes. He can play zone. He can play a little bit of man, so he fits in well. Like, there's a lot of people you need to pay attention with their strengths, like where they fit in on the scheme that they're in. Do they understand zone coverage? Like Isaiah Simmons, I love Isaiah Simmons, but unfortunately, as an IDP prospect, I think his numbers might dwindle a little bit in comparison to Zaven Collins just because of their role in that defense.
Yeah.
Isaiah Simmons could be the superior player. Still yet to be seen because he's had a little bit of a learning curve in the NFL, but he's going to be your linebacker who's going to drop in coverage. He literally has like 4 positions to his role on that defense. So it's like, I know, but like compare
Too
him
soon.
to Zaven Collins' role, and Zaven Collins is going to be your tackle machine, and he's going to have some time blitzing the passer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you have to pay attention to what their roles are on the team and schemes and the defensive scheme, and that plays a huge part in what somebody's going to do for IDP.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, just on the Blake Martinez thing, because I remember being one of the guys that was saying like, kind of going down on Blake Martinez and everything from when he went from the Packers to the Giants. And a lot of it too was Blake Martinez was the LB1 when he came out, the year that he caught hype. And so it was like, he's not going to maintain that LB1, production because of, it's the situation he was in. And it kind of worked out that way because Blake Martinez has kind of fallen into that 5 to 10 range.
Ooh, no, man. I still got him at 4.
Really?
Yeah, he hasn't had less than 144 tackles, I think, since he became a
Did you guys
full-time
see
starter.
that preseason play where he just like ripped the ball away from what's his name? Jacoby? Oh man, it was sick.
The biggest thing with Blake Martinez is, he's a fantastic run defender. He is a tackle machine, and he doesn't miss many tackles. So the biggest knock on him was he's not a playmaker. But you've seen last year that you don't necessarily have to be, as long as you can be an incredibly volume tackler. Like Zach Cunningham, I think he had 2 passes defended all year, no sacks. I think 4 tackles for a loss or something. It was very, very minimal, but he had 163 tackles. It's like, as long as if your thing is being a volume tackler and you can be a volume tackler for years, you're fine. Like Bobby Wagner's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
So as long as you can, if your role doesn't change and you can keep doing it at a good level, you're all right. It doesn't matter that you're not going to be this huge playmaker on defense, as long as you're still coming up with 130, 140 tackles.
Yeah.
Something
came up on Twitter this week. There was a new person kind of looking for advice, new to IDP. And the first thing I said to him was, get to know your starting position requirements and know your scoring, your scoring, because that's one of the mistakes that new people make all the time. If you're in a tackle-heavy league, guys like you were just talking about, they're money. But if you're in a league that values splash plays like sacks or pass breakups or interceptions, those guys are going to lose some value. And so if you just go to a standard list, that's just assuming, the tackles are going to be worthwhile, and your scoring system isn't going to accentuate that, you're going to be disappointed in picking those guys because they're not going to give you the output that you expect. So, right. We don't have to have a debate about, unified scoring systems and all that stuff. I'm just saying right now in the state of the union for IDP, there's a lot of diversity in the scoring, and your first mission critical is find out what that is to get an advantage over your league mates.
To answer Evan's question, for me, it's kind of, I think the Joe Schoberts and Blake Martinez, they're just not sexy, attractive players. You know what I mean? Like the Jarvis Landrys and the Cole Beasleys and guys, and Julian Edelman's, like guys who produce like that, but nobody wants. You know what I mean? Like either that value's too high or just it's not right. There's another player in there with upside that you want. Like I think those are I kind of equate those guys to match on offense with that. It's kind of what I try to tell people is, you can find Cole Beasley not even now after last year, the last 2 years, you know what I mean? Like anywhere in a startup where you're like, oh my God, why aren't people taking him? You know what I mean? So in linebacker land, it's the seasons that Darius Leonard is putting together and Devin White last year, like that, those aren't common for linebackers. Like they're like, that's extraordinary. Like, you know what I mean? Like those guys averaging in the right scoring system are averaging 25 points a week. You know what I mean? Like they're outscoring a lot of offensive players. So I think when you look at those guys, I kind of equate it to like they're, you know, which is why like people like Jason is like, hey, I can always find a guy, because we're looking at waiver wires halfway through the year that, you know, last year and Bernardrick McKinney goes down and all of a sudden Tyrell Adams is getting in there giving you 15, 16 points a week. And Alex Singleton came in. And then when Micah Kaiser went down, Troy Reeder came in. Like, so you're kind of looking at it as almost like a, not to handcuff them, but like as when a running back goes down and it's all right, it's JaMychal Hasty's time. You know what I mean? Like those are kind of, sometimes you can get those values on the IDP side as well. I think you guys hit it when talking about the invitational, is like being able to have those like positional advantages, even if you feel like, hey, nobody's jumping now, but like I'm going to be the one to get the stack of like Darius Leonard and Devin White. You know what I mean? Because you know how big it is as a scoring advantage, other than having an Odell Beckham who, you know what I mean? Yeah, he could be great. He could be a wide receiver one, but he could also crap out on you. So those are really, really important things to understand for newer IDP players. Is, I mean, I've seen people, you know, punt IDP and stack a great offense, but at the end of the day, I mean, you're getting next to nothing out of that side of the ball. And if it's a deep enough league, I mean, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, because having 4 starting quarterbacks in the Superflex league at the end of the day doesn't help you.
Yep.
Right.
And it's kind of analogous to a traditional offensive league. It also depends on where you're picking, especially if it's like a snake draft. Like if you're at the end, and like you just said, John, you want to start a run. You don't want to be at the end of a run. If you're in the middle, you can kind of wait it out and say, okay, I'm going to wait and see when Roquan Smith and Darius Leonard start to go, and then I'm going to jump in. But if you're sitting there at the end and it's a long way back, you got to start thinking about it and get the jump on everybody else, because you're your roster's gonna look pretty ugly by the time it gets back to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the next step also, when you're talking about looking at your scoring settings, your roster, take a look at the projections for players in your league site, because one of the wrinkles that I found in Fantrax is that they had Aaron Donald as like the number 7 defensive tackle in their projection setup. And I looked at it, and they had him for 13 sacks, but they had him at like 20 total tackles. And I was just looking at it, I was like, this is way off. So I actually was able to pick him up. So, you know, along with my Roquan Smith, my Darius Leonard, I have Aaron Donald. And it's just like, because everyone was overlooking him, thinking that he was already picked, because when they looked at the defensive tackles, he wasn't there. He wasn't right there at the top. So I was able to snag him, and I know that he's going to get more than 20 tackles. It just like they're putting him at, for week 1. I'm trying to see where his tackle. One tackle, 1 assisted tackle, 1 sack.
Aren't they playing Chicago week 1?
Yeah.
He's gonna sack Andy Dalton like 5 times in the first half.
Yeah. Right. So, you know, I'm looking at, you know, they're saying 6 points here right now. He might be getting me more points than Patrick Mahomes.
Yikes.
Yeah, understanding those settings and your scoring and positional advantage, even coming in from like an offensive heavy background, like those are the quickest advantages you could get, even from a points per game perspective. I know a lot of people who play that way, where I'm all about points per game. You know, if I can get X amount of points per game from this guy, I really don't care where I draft him. So, I mean, there's a ton of guys who think that way on the offensive side. So I think we need to get forward thinking of that on the defensive side too, and understand that, like I said, it's not that important to get, you know, a wide receiver 5, you know, before you get a linebacker 1, because you can be in those situations like Jason talked about, where you're at the end of a run and you're like, well, I guess I'll take, you know, this guy, even though he's, you know, never finished higher than a linebacker 3 in 7 years, you know what I mean? But like, I need a linebacker. You don't want to be the same thing on the offensive side. You don't want to be, I have to take a tight end because I have to take one, and you're Joey and you want to wait till, you know, you have to pick up the guys from the recycling bin.
and then you lose in the championship game.
The Jamal Agnew.
One thing too, one tip for newer people, You talk, Nate, about looking at the projections, and I think that's a good tip. But another thing that I like to do is go in and look at, usually the platforms have say for this year, they'd have the previous year 2020's data in there for that scoring system. Look at the top 100. See how many edge rushers are in the top 100. See how many linebackers are in the top 100. I can't tell you how many IDP leagues I've been in where there's like 3 edge rushers in the top 100, and people are taking Nick Bosa in the 3rd round and the 4th round. And I'm thinking, hey, I love Nick Bosa, but I'm not taking a guy that's, there's 2 guys in the top 100 of the overall scoring. Mm-hmm. They're not worth it to take them that high. But, people don't look at it that way. They recognize a name, they jump at a name, and then they pay for it later.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the things that's hardest as for somebody that's not used to IDP and trying to get into it, is that because what you like to do on the offensive side is, especially when you play Dynasty, I mean, I'm 99% Dynasty. You like your stars. You like to have those guys that you're like, I love this guy. I love DJ Moore. I'm going to get him on all my rosters, blah, 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 blah. And it's almost like those, it's not that they don't exist, but there's, especially in different, with different, I suppose cornerbacks are terrible for that. And then like defensive ends can even be up and down year to year, and it's like, it can be very frustrating if you're, like you say, maybe in the 6th round, you took a, whoever, Myles Garrett or something like that, or somebody, Daniil Hunter or something like that, and then they just like crap the bed for you. And it's like, I mean, it happens to anybody, but not so much with a horrific injury or something or a suspension, but just having a down year for sacks. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, they were the DE 40, instead of the DE 5. And it's like, that can be really frustrating and off-putting and really discombobulating for people that are just new to like IDP and stuff as well. I mean, that's something that I'm just a bit obsessive with stuff like that. So I research loads and think about it loads and to ask loads of questions and stuff. So it's probably easier for me, but I know a lot of people wouldn't like that and they would just get put off by it and they would just be like, nah, this is crap because, I took these 5 guys in the top 10 rounds that are supposed to be the studs and, my team sucked and I was last place or something.
Mm-hmm. I think the last tip I'll give is to not play in leagues with guys like you guys because you guys are all jerks. So like you tend to like just snipe each other left and right. So when you're playing in leagues with people who aren't just sharks, like it's a lot more fun.
Yeah,
Easier to get your guys.
Find a bunch of noobs to play with.
I like to be able to move my strategy around. So depending on the whatever hole I'm drafting out of, whatever position I'm drafting out of, and what happens coming at me, I like to be, I don't want to say reactionary, but I'd like to look at that and go, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Maybe I'm going to go linebacker early because I want to feel confident in this league. Or I want to go defensive end or maybe even safety early because maybe I'm drafting in the 12th spot and the first position guy started the IDP run. So all of those, the big linebackers, the big defensive ends are gone. And so I'm going to take a Buda Baker, that I just absolutely love early on and then kind of build my strategy. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning with salary cap and whether you play like a 1 in auction drafts where you play either a 1 at the top or just a 30 to 100 players. I like that flexibility. That's what really draws me in. That's what I like about drafts is being able to sometimes do the same thing over and over again, but sometimes just completely flip the script and try something new.
Yeah, I was incredibly reactionary to the draft. I pretty much go into every draft. Like I'll have like a base idea of how I want to go about it, but I really let the draft dictate my strategy, to be honest. Like for the Invitational, even especially, I didn't think Josh Allen was going to be there at 9 in a super flex. So to go Josh Allen, then I was planning on waiting on my second QB, and then Justin Herbert came back, and I was like, well, I mean, shit, I guess I'm just going to do that. I was like, I could easily wait, but then I'm also at towards the tail end of the draft. So if I wait and don't take Herbert here, then I'm going to be using Jimmy Garoppolo as my freaking QB too.
I remember now. I had the first pick in that draft because I remember feeling very concerned that I was first pick, that people would get upset that I rigged it since, I'm putting on the whole league.
Clearly,
so that's how I got Mahomes. Yeah.
Clearly you did.
Yeah, no, it's I'm really not happy with this comment here, Todd. That's just not cool. Too soon. Too soon.
Yeah, what do you say?
Put that back
Something
up.
about CD?
Oh, not cool.
Oh, that's right.
This is the problem when you co-manage with Joey, is that he talks you into like trading away the players that you love.
It's not true.
Oh,
That was a very good trade that we got.
That was an
was,
interesting league too, because like, I was on the IDP side of it, and I mean, I was just like, do your thing, you know what I mean? Let me know when, you feel like it's right, and I'll find people. But I mean, again, I'm playing in leagues with you guys, so it's just like at the end of the day, I'm like, all right, I guess Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker 1, you know what I mean? Which I wasn't like upset about, but I'm like, yeah, I'll make the most of it, because I'm a lot like Nate too. Is like I like to switch up that strategy and be able to say like, I want to do a certain thing, but I mean, the only thing that I really stick to across all my leagues is in any Superflex league is I can't wait on quarterback. I just don't want to unless it really gets really, really ugly on me. Like I just don't want to be the guy starting, Kirk Cousins and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, seriously.
I gotta say,
no, I
I get a lot of practice with the mock drafts that we do. Like, I don't know, there's something like 30 mock drafts we do a month. I know Jason was helping us out at one point with those and everything getting in, and you get so much practice. I've done at least a dozen mocks from every single spot. And when that happens, you just like, when you get to the redraft part, you just know what's coming.
See, I think as well, an interesting point that you guys have probably all touched on is that because we end up, I think we're all degenerates here, and we all get into far too many leagues. So I find I really like to try different strategies like in an actual league, because I feel like that actually makes me a better analyst, because I feel like I can actually say to people like, well, yeah, zero RB is this, or, waiting on QB is that, or yeah, going early on linebacker, because it's all well and good to talk about it theoretically, but I feel like until you've had some skin in the game and you've actually tried it and you're like, oh my goodness, this is hard, when you've done this build and it just doesn't work, or, you just need to be really good at trading if you get yourself into this situation, that sort of way. So that's why I really enjoy the league that we've mentioned a couple of times, our 16 team league with co-managers. I'm in 2 16-team leagues, that one and another one, similar setups, but it's not co-managers. That's one of the reasons I enjoy those leagues, is because I feel like they really stretch you, because, you're really looking and thinking about silly trades or things that just can give you little advantages, but it does make you sharper, and it makes you, more flexible, I suppose, even for your smaller leagues, and I'm doing a redraft league at the moment, actually, where I didn't expect to do it, but I don't know if you guys know Jeff on Twitter. Jeff, what's his? He goes by Jeff Engineer. Is it Jeff Engineer? The guy's he writes for the Fantasy Footballers, and he has the podcast, The Tackle Dummies. He's a really funny guy, really, really smart guy. But they invited me into their listener league, and it's just an offense only redraft, but they've done some funny scoring where like the defenses, the team defense scores as much as like a QB and stuff, it's just like an absolutely crazy league. But yeah, I'm just trying stuff in there that I'm like, because it's redraft, it's fun to like, I took Derrick Henry in the first round. I don't have Derrick Henry anywhere, because in Dynasty, I'm not really excited about having Derrick Henry on my squad anymore, and there's just guys that I'm trying and taking different guys and trying different things and stuff. And it's like, sometimes you end up feeling like, oh, maybe this squad isn't as good as it should have been or something, but it's kind of fun, it's kind of like interesting, and you just try different things and see what works and what doesn't.
You're talking about Jeff Greenwood, right?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
I was going to say,
awesome.
You just said about diversity in your teams. What's funny, I mean, I'm sure you guys can relate, but what I found, I've been doing fantasy much longer than I've been analyzing fantasy. And in my experience as a player, it's remarkable how often you come out of a draft thinking this team's going to crush it, and then that team totally falls apart. Or the vice versa is also very common, where you go, man, I blew that draft. And then like that team's in the championship, and you go like, man, after the draft, I thought this team was sunk. So that's the other thing is that I always tell people, whether it's IDP or just general fantasy football, people get so wrapped up in their draft, and obviously their draft is important because it kind of sets the table for your team. But really, where championships are won or lost are staying astute to the waivers, finding out what the news is, staying plugged in. If you're thinking you're going to draft and then just tune out, unless it's like some kind of best ball league where you can't make moves and you're kind of locked into who you drafted, you really need to stay with your eye on the ball, because that's where you win your leagues. It's not, oh, like I had a great draft, so it's over now. I won everything. You know, you need to stay engaged. It's an active pursuit.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree with that. Shit. All right.
Apologies for talking so much. Yeah, that's what you get when you bring guy over from Ireland.
That's why we bring people on to talk, man.
You're just warming up for your own podcast.
Exactly, getting all the kinks out.
I get to do this again in like a week. Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Wonderful.
Well, I saw the caffeine drink that you were loading up on too, so that probably didn't help you.
Yeah, it's what
Exactly.
right now. It's what
it is 3:15 a.m.
Wow,
Jesus.
We should let you go to bed.
Yeah, I'm working tomorrow as well, so
we'll sign up here. I'd like to thank all of the Dynasty Nerds in general, and then the three of you that came on to join us. Please, if we do some more mocks this off season, hit me up. I'd love to join them again. I love doing those. They're great. The rookie mocks are fantastic, dude. Like the quick little writing on the website for you. Nice little blurb on my guy. That's fun. But I want to thank you all for coming on. You guys are three of my best friends and genuinely incredible people. And I just want to say thank you. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit of what you got going on? Tell us where we can find you, and we'll sign off. Jason, we'll start with you, bud.
Sure. Well, first, I just want to also reiterate that we appreciate the invite. It was a pleasure to be invited and to be on. Enjoyed talking with you guys. My stuff is at Dynasty Nerds is where you can find most of my work. I'll have all kinds of different content coming out throughout the season. But you can find me there. You can also find me on Twitter at Spide78. It's in my name tag there. So look forward to speaking to you. If you've been listening to this podcast and you want to talk to me more, hit me up.
John?
At Glosser13 on Twitter. DMs are always open. We'll be, just keep chugging away the content at Dynasty Nerds. Love what we do over there, the content. We really, got to take notes from you guys and really get on the video content portion of it with the YouTube channel and stuff. So that's more just a timing thing of having a 2 and a 1-year-old for myself. So, but yeah, I really, really appreciate the relationships I've been able to build with you guys over there, and love having you in on the mocks and everything that you guys are doing over there. I mean, I genuinely do appreciate it for the whole community and being able to interact. And I've been on Joey's podcast a couple times, and just being able to interact and be in leagues with each other and kind of, give each other shit and build each other up at the same time. Really, really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. And thanks again for having us on, and, look forward to doing it again, honestly.
Hell yeah. Evan, go ahead, man.
Yeah, definitely appreciate having me on. Thanks very much. It's always great chopping it up with you guys. And I do writing and Superflex ranking over at Dynasty Nerds, and hopefully launching my podcast next week. So that will be Dynasty Debates. I set up a Twitter for it if you want to go check it out. I'm on Twitter as well at FFEvanLucian. Hit me up. I will probably reply with a GIF. That is what I do. That's my love language. So don't take it personal. If you get a GIF from me, it's a good thing. But yeah, thanks very much, guys. It was great. I am going to be hating myself tomorrow at work, later today, but it's worth it.
You can reach out to me all day, bud. I'm here for you. Nate,
Why?
For sure, I will talk to you tomorrow at some point. Guys, peace.
See you guys.
Later.